Kenneth, I assume you've been in an office at some time or other where they have a water cooler.
Yeah, I saw one in my aunt Diane's office one time.
Did you notice what happened? Well, describe it first of all. What does it look like?
Okay, there's a big glass jar that filled with water, of course, and it's on top of a little stand. And at the bottom, there's a knob that you turn to get the water to come out.
Sean, we made it.
We did.
The end of the road.
We did.
At least a little bit. What's up, everybody? Happy Saturday. If you're here, you know that means it's time for a little bit of water cooler talk. We're going to be talking all about the Mandalorian season finale, The Rescue. There's so much to break down, and we couldn't do this alone. And now Sean's wandering off. What are you doing? What are you doing over there? You know, we're supposed to be professional, and you're already walking up the
Patrick, this is the least professional Mando after show I do. I remember I've got one with Saul and Rachel, so their professionalism is unrivaled.
It was one time, Sean.
Yeah, last week we just kind of bungled this whole thing. So this week we made sure it wasn't just us because we don't want
you
that
and I we basically made Box the after show.
Box the after show, which was great. Don't get me wrong, I think the fans liked it, but
But I think now it's time to actually talk.
Yeah.
And focus on the Mandalorian. A little bit of housekeeping, of course, as you guys know, we do have a Patreon. You got to see all those pretty names at the very beginning. If you guys haven't, check out the Patreon. There might be a tier that's right for you. Right now, if you're at the $5 and up level, there's actually a very special box treat for you that everyone got. We'll release it eventually to everyone else, but this one's special for the patrons. And of course, you're going to be getting a Kiss Kiss Bang Bang commentary in the next couple of weeks. That is for the $10 and up patrons. There are all sorts of fun things going on. Monday night, whatever it is. We're doing a watch along Miracle on 34th Street and the Patreon Christmas Chronicles double feature. We're going to reschedule because, it was supposed to be today, but we have some other stuff going on that we're going to have to take care of. We're busy. We got things happening. So, Sean, I think that's enough out of us because there's all sorts of people we got to bring in because again we couldn't do this alone.
Do we bring them in least favorite to most favorite, or what's the order?
Let's do special guest, then least favorite, then Dwayne, and then Jake.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Bring them in.
All right. So first we got my former faction mate, potential future faction mate, Ben Goddard. Ben, thanks for coming.
Ben.
Hi, everybody. How are we today?
Well,
we're here. We're talking Mando. We're hanging out with you. It's a good day.
It is a good day. I just happen to wear, the best Star Wars movie ever made sweatshirt.
Love it.
You can't really read it. It's The Last Jedi. Yeah, it's The Last Jedi. It's very worn down because I've worn it to 1,000 different Disney trips and every day, and so
I get it.
I have a few of those. This one's already starting to wear down. Well, next we're bringing in. Did you say least favorite next?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, well, we all know. Chat, go ahead and give your guesses for least favorite. All right, too late. It's Frank Janish. Hi, Frank.
Hi, Frank.
I am thrilled to be here.
Aren't you so glad to be here, man? I mean, it's I'm curious, Frank. Do you think that's actually Luke Skywalker?
Actually, look it. I have a point about that.
All right. I can't wait to hear it. Next, we're just going to bring them both in at the same time. Dwayne Burke, Jake Berlin, because I forgot the order. They're here with us all the time. Guys, who's ready to fucking talk about some Mando?
I'm ready.
I'm fucking ready. Are we allowed to cuss?
Oh, yes. Of course we are.
Okay.
This is no children safe zone.
Oh,
it's so loud.
It's so loud.
Every time.
Look, an alert. It's supposed to be loud,
I feel like that point. No matter what we've seen how the internet's reacted the last, 30 36 hours to this episode's drop. So today's should be a lot of fun. It's going to be very interesting. I know that we all come from very different ends of the spectrum about how we love Star Wars, what we love about Star Wars. And Mandalorian went for all of it in very different ways last night. The last 40 minutes of season 2 was some real divisive and really interesting world building, to say the least.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Look, I got nothing. This was I enjoyed the episode. I thought it was a lot of fun. I've got some complaints, but overall, great episode. We're done with the show now?
Yep.
No.
Thanks for having me, guys.
That's not how it works. I'm sorry, Sean. I don't know if you know this, but the internet loves to talk about Star Wars so they can yell at us. So we're going to go ahead and do just
And we're
that.
supposed to do this for like 3 hours or something, right?
That's the rumor I hear.
Oh, it's another one of these shows?
On this network, you never know what's going to happen. All right, I'm going to go around the table real quick. I want to get first quick impressions, and then we're going to jump into the deepest of dives into everything that happened. Sean kind of gave his, and then he thought it was over. It was not. Moving over to Ben, what were your initial thoughts before we do the deep dive?
I liked a lot of it. I've said before that I didn't like where they were taking the story, and unfortunately for me, they took it there. But everything with the actual Mandalorian storyline, I really liked. Darksaber stuff, great. Bo-Katan stuff, great. Other things, not for me.
That's okay. Ben, the internet's just going to tell you you're wrong for feeling
Yeah,
that
absolutely,
way.
yeah.
So it's,
I forgot,
welcome.
you're not allowed to be critical of anything. You're just allowed to either love it or hate it. There's no
Exactly. There's no in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, no black and white on this. Moving down to Frankie numbers, what were your initial thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I really liked the episode a lot. I like where the story is going, where potentially it could go. There's some nitpicks, of course. There's things that I have. It's not so much complaints, but just questions. And we'll get into all that. So that'll be fun to discuss.
Moving over to Dwayne.
1 thumb up, then a little bit higher, then 2 thumbs up, then 2 thumbs down, and then 2 thumbs way up.
I love it. I like the way you broke that down, and I feel like I understood it. So that's even better.
Yeah.
And our friend Jake, what about you, my friend?
I loved every second of it. And I think I might be the only one on this panel that says that. And of course, I'm going to be critical. And like Frank said, there's nitpicks, but
There's always nitpicks.
really enjoyed the finale. I wasn't ready for it. And I really was not ready for it. And I still enjoyed it. So
I think that's all you can ask. And I don't think you're going to be alone in some of that, because I similarly liked almost everything about the episode. And I do understand. And we're going to jump into why there's talk about people and their issues with the ending, and we'll get real into that. Because
Can I say one thing real quick? That Sean doesn't
always.
have a goofy fake Star Wars name, so he's a fake fan.
Yeah.
Fake chill fan.
Also, I'm going to say, Jake, you weren't the only one that wasn't ready for it. Disney Plus also wasn't ready for it.
it's a good point.
That's true.
The animators were not
Very
ready
good
for
point.
it.
That is also okay. Look, I'm just going to say this real quick. If you're going to do the de-aging, let's make sure you're doing it within the confines of your budget. That's just a note from me for future if they decide to do this.
You do it at least.
Or that, or
I
just get Sebastian Stan.
Sully.
So with that, Sean, how about you take us into this episode? What
God,
happened there?
that required me to have straight functional thoughts on this.
Yes, it did.
Okay, so we open up with Dr. Pershing, the 2 Imperial pilots in the Lambda shuttle. Not Shuttle Tidarian, not Shuttle Tidarium. There's no challenge here. Jokes aside, I loved the opening scene. I liked getting kind of the interaction between Pershing and the Imperial pilots, where the Imperial pilots were like, "This isn't your lab. You're not in charge here." And then we have the Slave One board somehow logistically the land
I was
shuttle.
going to ask that as well.
I got questions, Ben.
I mean,
I don't know.
Prepare to be bored, and I was like, how? How
Yeah.
per se?
Because a Lambda shuttle has a Lambda shuttle has a
That's
drop down
Robert.
Robert.
Yeah.
I mean, they could. I mean, theoretically, they could just cut a hole in the hull.
When a ship and another ship love each other.
I mean, I'm just happy that we finally got okay, so there's gang tattoos in Star Wars. Like
Did I miss
the tier.
that?
Yeah,
The
the
tier.
tier.
Oh
The
yeah,
tier
yeah,
for
yeah.
Alderaan. The tier for Alderaan.
I
Yeah.
think we knew that. Didn't we know that last season? Maybe Filoni or someone
I don't
said
think
it,
so.
or
I don't think so. I'd never heard it at least said out
Wait,
Yeah,
loud.
I didn't.
On a gang, Dwayne.
Well, I mean, they repurposed something, but I think it's interesting that they have a way to identify themselves like throughout the universe.
as survivors of Alderaan, which she's the only one we've seen that has that. So I mean,
So far.
I mean, but how many survivors of Alderaan have we seen?
6.
And I'd like to take this moment to say that
Like
Jon
seen,
Favreau.
not read about. Like how many have we seen?
Do we count comics and movies or comics and TV?
Yeah,
6.
I mean, because post who
The
else have we seen in TV?
in animated, I got to think about it. I mean, Bale,
Because if
Bale,
because
Leia. No, Bale
well,
doesn't survive.
yeah, I was
Bale
just saying
doesn't survive.
Bale was confirmed to have died on Alderaan.
Yeah, Bale died on
Leia,
Alderaan.
Leia is the only one.
Leia, then the Y-wing pilot that survives the Battle of Yavin, whose name I forget.
And you're supposed to be a Star Wars Schmodown player.
PJ, you don't know
Okay,
their name
well,
either, so you're never going to fucking ask about it.
When did we see him?
Now he
Her.
is.
Her. We see her in the comics.
Okay,
She becomes the new Princess of Alderaan when Leia shirks the title.
okay.
I really like this scene,
Sorry,
by
we're
the
going
way.
down a rabbit.
Yeah. Mostly because it means that Jon Favreau is also a fan of Clerks and was clearly like, so we should probably deal with the fact that a bunch of stormtroopers and people died on the Death Star. That whole line of dialogue between the Imperial and Cara Dune was actually really interesting. And it gives you that perspective again of, to the Imperials, they think they're doing the right thing. And he's talking about all the people who died.
This season has been very like I'm waking up. Very
We
point
all
of
are,
view
don't worry.
esque, like
Yes.
very like
Oh, yeah.
from Bill Burr's point of view, from that the evil lieutenant that they were talking to. Like there's a lot of different points of view, and that's what I really like about this show is that in season 1 you're seeing they're just trying when we weren't dealing with the Empire versus the Rebels, there's a lot of people just trying to make a living, just literally trying to survive by bounty hunting, by bartending, by doing this, like just by getting by day to day. And then, hey, we won the victory, but the entire Empire and like system has collapsed. So it hurt a lot of, like, I hate to say small businesses, but it hurt a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing like the fallout of all this. And we're seeing like this kind of Empire death cult that's like, no, we're on the side of right. And do you guys think I'll pose the first question. Do you guys think that Moff Gideon is trying to build the First Order? Because they keep emphasizing the word order.
That's very interesting because Favreau has said we're going to start to see the seeds of the first order being built throughout Mandalorian. I don't know if that's necessarily exactly what Gideon's thinking, but I think that that's what he's doing is the seeds of it. I think we're seeing the rollout of it.
How far, Sean? Because I know we've talked about this, but I always forget where we're at. How far out are we from the Battle of Jakku?
They're 5 years out.
5 years?
5 years after.
5 years after. Okay. So I don't think that he's got anything to do with it, only because of what happened during the Battle of Jakku. And we know that that is the seeds of the First Order, like the true seeds of the First Order. So and we do know that the First Order only really started their incursions.
Well,
I know that they left agents behind. I know all this, Sean. I know. But what I'm saying is they did not start making visible moves in the galaxy until at least Bloodlines time period, when they exposed Leia as Vader's daughter.
right. Yes, and as far as we
And
know,
even then, it wasn't really like they didn't know who was really behind it.
but
Let me
we've
say
also
something real quick about
seen
the word order, though. Just real quick on that. I don't know if it's really pointing towards the First Order. More, I think it just speaks more to the fascist ideals of the Empire that they still want to instill upon the galaxy. Not
I can agree with that. I just it's been at least 2 or 3 times where they've like hit that word hard. So I'm not like dying on this hill, but I just thought like with like the midichlorian count with the Snoke tank, like I'm starting to like, are they building the First Order and like building, you know, like making Snoke like the face of it, like this, you know, mysterious, all powerful Sith.
We also see the dropship in the episode with Boba and
episode
Fennec.
6. Yeah, episode 6.
Yeah, we see those dropships that are very reminiscent of the dropships in the beginning of Force Awakens.
To that question, Ben, I'm wondering if Gideon took the opportunity when the Empire fell to kind of take over what was left. But we know that from the Aftermath series that what a large part pretty much disappeared into, you know, wild space and out in the outer regions and stuff. I'm wondering if at some point they come back and pick up where Gideon left off and whatever he left behind. And it kind of connects that way, but it's not like a direct correlation of Gideon starting it, but more so maybe they found some things and just collected the pieces from what he had and they started to go from there.
That's fair. Like he could be like the grandfather of it, like, you know.
Yeah,
like,
without actually trying to
or something
do
like
so.
that.
Yeah.
Really kind of like the inverse of how the rebellion started. There's all these different cells, and then eventually they got all pulled together to create the actual rebellion. And it just maybe the reverse, you know, for the bad guys, you know.
Yeah.
So have we explained Moff Gideon's suit yet? Has that been,
I mean, it's just a black painted. It's very similar to what General Veers wears in Empire Strikes Back, just painted black, I think.
Okay. It looks very Darth Vader-y, so I didn't know if like he's trying to fill that void.
I think so.
Okay.
I think that's his goal.
All right, Sean. What are we? Let's keep going.
You, Patrick, I'm waking up, so you take the reins on this one because I'm gonna miss it. I'd rather be excited and you be the rational one.
I'm never the rational one, so give me just a second. So we see the boarding party. They decide that they are going to infiltrate the cruiser, and they have this whole plan about how Boba is going to make it look like they're in distress. They're going to make a distress call, and they're going to land on the ship. It's actually a pretty cool and fun plan, and it also gave us the chance to see the Slave One back in action again, which was really fun and really cool. For me, one of the things I've liked about the show is that it's enough nostalgic nods while also trying to do new and different things with the stuff we've seen, but it's never not going to be fun to at least see the Slave One in action. And I really loved this whole sequence, and we actually got to see the TIE fighters being shot out of the cruiser, which I had never seen from that point of view of the tunnel, and it actually like being shot out into space. I thought that was really, really fantastic for this entire kind of chase sequence.
All right, well, this is where I'm going to interrupt you because you skipped a part.
Well, then this is why I told you to do it.
I know.
Jesus Christ, Sean.
Okay, I just want to briefly touch on the little cantina scene we get with
I
wouldn't call that little, by the way.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it little at all.
Huge exchange. God, PJ, get your shit together.
God, I told Sean to do it. I know.
You know what? I can't do this anymore.
I guess. Hosted by 2 fake Star Wars fans. One doesn't even have a funny Star Wars name. Oh.
Well,
so in that we get Din and crew going to this unknown planet. I'm sure I can look on Wikipedia and find out what the fuck it is, but I don't care. And he meets up with Bo-Katan and
Costco Reeves.
Costco Reeves.
Yep.
And Boba and Casca have a little scrap, and Bo-Katan calls Boba out for not being a true Mandalorian, for being a clone. She outright calls him a clone, which is quite interesting.
Calls Django the donor. God, that one hurt.
That hurt a lot. Yeah. That was mean-spirited, man.
That was he was like, "Oh yeah, my father is like, you mean your donor?" Like she like just like triple dog dared like right there. I was like, that was such a unnecessary escalation in that argument.
Yeah.
Like, hey man, you look a little tired. Yeah, well, you're adopted. It's like what?
She's been holding that in for so many years. I was
right? Like
snapped.
Well, and it shows the division continually still between people who consider themselves to be Mandalorian with the armor versus those who are Mandalorian. And even to Boba's point, he goes, "I'm not a Mandalorian. Like I have the armor."
Never claimed to be.
But
well, in I wanted to say to that, and this plays into a later conversation, but this may also, like, as much as Boba has done great this season and how like
Yes,
awesome he's been alongside Din and Fennec Shand and stuff, there still might be this side of him where he believes that all other Mandalorians hate him, and because of what he is, and they know what he is, and that kind of may lead to what he does at the end of the episode. And no matter how good he did during the season, he kind of always is going to have that bad trait to him, and it may be expanded a little bit here very soon.
Can I also say he
Well,
had
that, and it just reminds it. I think it served as a perfect reminder, or at least the end did serve as a perfect reminder of he's not a good guy.
Yeah,
no,
that's
100%.
not who you're. That's not who you're looking at. You're
He
not
had-
looking at a noble person.
No, and he had the coolest line in that, to me, in showing that, was when she was like, "I've heard your voice a million times," and he goes, "My voice will be the last you ever hear."
Yep.
Just like,
Yeah,
holy shit, Boba is a badass. The whole fight in the cantina was actually quite cool. I'm really glad to say that we're moving past Boba having a bad day at the office, and we're actually getting to see him be a badass. I know that's unpopular in some circles of Star Wars culture, but it's kind of nice to actually see him getting to be
Got that dad strength, bro. He's just flat out dad strength all the
Yeah.
time.
100%.
Like Casca is like, got her MMA moves and like, doing the whirlwind Black Widow kick, and he's just like, ah!
Well,
Like,
here's the fire for
I've
you.
been chopping wood on Tatooine for years. I'm hella buff.
To the point where, like, is Boba Fett a Mando or Mandalorian? He's not. And we go back to like that chain code scene, saying how he has a right to the armor. I think that's all that really was not to confirm that he was a Mandalorian, but that like he has like a birthright to this armor that was his father's.
Yep.
And so I guess that
Which
so
I
he's not a
believe,
Mandalorian.
makes him a Mandalorian.
Yes.
But see, here's the other thing, and I thought about this. When you look at,
I mean, I
equate it to like Earth religions. Like if you were raised Catholic or Mormon, and then you leave the church, it's like, you were once that, or you have ties to that, but it doesn't necessarily make you a practicing Catholic or a practicing Mormon or a practicing, practicing Mandalorian.
We don't normally see Mandalorians going door to door on Tatooine saying, "Hi,
I
can
mean-
we talk to you about our?"
Hello. My name is
it
Elder Fett.
just adds.
Does anyone get the reference?
No, that was great. That was like one of the last live
just-
things I saw. Me and Alex Marzoni saw Book of Mormon. It was amazing.
It just adds to the conversation, or adds another dynamic to the conversation or the discussion of what actually makes a Mandalorian.
Right.
It's more point of view stuff. Like, again, like we're getting the point of view from Empire or Rebellion, from low level citizen to high ranking official, and now what makes a Mandalorian. Like,
Because
it's all
100%
we now have at least 3 different like
takes on
points
it.
of takes on it. You've got like the Children of the Way and what they believe makes a Mandalorian. You've got the more conventional Mandalorians that we're used to, that we've seen throughout canon, and then now we've got Boba that's just like, cool, my father was a Mandalorian, but like I'm not.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I like the different points of view about it, because this whole show could be about what makes a Mandalorian, but I think like he wanted to prove to Din, because he didn't want to steal the armor back or anything like that, but he could give a shit less what Bo-Katan or Casca says about him. Like,
Yeah.
And I love that. I've been saying since we did our pre-show this year, like, that's what I want. I want this show to be about what makes a Mandalorian. I don't have that on my wall for nothing. Like, that's what I want out of this show. Baby Yoda's great. Luke Skywalker's
He needs a
great.
name, Sean. It's Grogu. Get it together.
Look,
it is not.
look,
He's
PJ.
he's
Disney's
look, I mean,
marketing tool is great.
I don't know if anybody wants to, because I'll just double check it. His name was not used once during this episode, right?
No.
He was called the kid, the child,
As
like,
always.
a million
Yeah.
different things. Name was never
no.
was never used.
Well,
But that
because
also could have
name at that
been-
point is Mando is Din. He's the only one that knows the name. So
Right.
Yeah.
And he
That-
still calls him the kid. Like, even in the episode after, he would still call him kid. Like, when he put him on the rock,
Right.
he even called him the kid still.
Oh,
Well, that could also have to do with compartmentalization of information, so that to avoid leaks. Because they don't need to use the name all the time, and we don't know filming order. We don't know who's involved in this filming. Most likely, a lot more people were involved in this episode because they had to do the de-aging and the, body doubling and all that stuff. So I think that
I understand the like production reasons why it probably wasn't used, but I'm just saying, like at this point, every single thing plays into.
Just fix that, like after it's revealed.
Yeah.
So
fair.
He's
wearing a helmet the whole time. I guess you're right.
Yeah. All right, Sean, continue.
Oh, okay. So then we got this little mock pirate chase scene distraction with the TIE fighters in coming out of the nose. Now, I also want to correct you on that, PJ. The reason we've never seen TIE fighters come out of the nose of an Arc-10's cruiser is because this might not be an Arc-10's cruiser, because Arc-10's cruisers are smaller and don't have a hangar bay.
I didn't say what kind of ship it was. I just said we had never seen it before.
But I am.
Okay. Well, you're not correcting me. You're just adding extra information.
He's flexing right now.
I'm adding more information. That the ship is the wrong size. It doesn't have a hangar bay normally, but it looks nearly identical.
Sean, glasses.
That being said, oh fucking Christ! All right, fine.
Professor Sean is back. Anytime he decides that he wants to flex on us and be a moron, he has to put on his glasses.
And then you just get my screen reflection. I don't know what you want, Patrick.
It's just these moments.
This looks like you're going Super Saiyan mode with your knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay. Sean, continue, please.
That was it. I was just going to say I think it looks badass. I agree with PJ.
Yeah, I thought it was super creative and unique, something we've never seen before, obviously.
Yeah.
It kind of gave me anxiety a little bit watching those ships get so close to the ship as they were launching.
Yeah.
I mean, pilots, you got to be pretty good at what you do if you're going to be able to go through that. And then obviously to Bo-Katan, doing the shuttle too. So
well, it's
somewhat similar in Squadrons. There's that, you have to shoot out of that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Very similar, like same concept, but not not a ship.
Well, it's
out of the tractor beam.
No, it's during the campaign.
Yeah, that's what I mean. In the like second to last mission.
I don't know exactly when.
Stay on target.
Stay on target. So I think it's interesting how much real world military stuff has been introduced into Star Wars in the last year. Like I don't think we had seen mortars prior to this show in Star Wars. Now we've basically seen an aircraft carrier, because for those of you who don't know, that system is basically what they use to launch planes off of aircraft carriers.
Yeah.
That's basically what we saw, was an aircraft carrier for Star Wars or for the Empire. And I think that's really cool that they brought more recognizable things to the galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, I completely agree. I thought that was just really cool. And this whole sequence is great. Having the Lambda crash land inside, it was really, really fun. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Return of the Jedi and flying into the Death Star with the Falcon. Very similar vibes. And then we see them board and action ensues.
And they just fucking burst out of that ship. We get Casca, Bo, Kara, and Fennec all just kicking ass for the next 3 minutes. And Din just sinks into the shadows, and I love it. We've seen Din do this a few times, too. I think Din, very much, he's good at an upfront fight, but I think more and more we're seeing Din be a little more calculating, a little bit more stealthy.
Do we want to say Din's good in an upfront fight? I don't think he's bad, but
he's
in the first episode when he's fighting with the other 3 Mandalorians, he's like, "I got this," and just takes every laser bolt to the face, and then barely gets his grenades off. And it's like, I realize he's got that calculated because he's got the best guard, but Din is more of a selective fighter than a soldier, which isn't an insult, but it's he's going to leave it to the professionals right now.
I think he really leans into the armor. And I think we saw that in the episode with Bill Burr. We see that as a flaw for him, that he's trying to fight. He leans into punches and hits. and it doesn't work for him when he doesn't have the armor on. So
Yeah,
I think you're right
very
there.
dependent on it.
Actually,
That's
this
a great
is a great
comment
point.
by Ricardo.
Yeah, I was going to say
gonna
Ricardo makes a great point.
Yeah.
He's good at a fight like Indy's in a fight, like 100%. It's the same thing. You lean into what you know and you hope for the best. But I mean, there's a reason that he was like, okay, you guys go deal with all the stormtroopers. I'll go try to make sure that the dark troopers don't get out. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I'm good at. I'm stealthy like that. Let me worry about that.
And I also like the fact that he's not like this world-class fighter, because it's like really no fun to root for. You're like, all right, he's gonna kick their ass. Every time he gets in a fight, you're like, all right, how's he gonna get out of this one? And then you're always surprised at how he does.
Yeah, he's better. He's better in a one-on-one situation than he is in like a storm in the beach type of situation or something like that. Like,
Well, it's also cool because typically when we get series like this based around a super cool character or something, we see how good they are in a fight. We're watching him learn as he goes in a fight. He's not the greatest fighter in the galaxy or even close to his group. Kara can probably beat him in a fight just because of her experience. So it is really cool kind of seeing him progress as the fighter and learn different ways. And it comes in the fight with the Dark Trooper, with the staff and everything too. So
good stuff. I'm liking it.
I mean, do we want to get to that?
That's the next part, right?
I mean,
it was nice to see Oberyn Martell get his justice.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. So the next thing we see Din dealing with the dark troopers, and they're beginning to wake up. The door opens. He just barely closes it, but before he can, one of them gets out.
Someone's echoing.
Yeah, sure.
Is it me?
Hello?
It might have been Sean. No,
Yeah, I think it was Sean.
Very Battlestar Galactica Cylon for me
Yeah.
with the Dark Troopers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I
mean,
do. Oh, I was going to say
again to the parallel Game of Thrones. I love that they tried to fucking crush his head.
They really leaned in on that too. They were like, we're just going to let this dark trooper throw him against a wall and continually beat him in the head. And thank God for the Beskar.
That's like, I mean, call it a nitpick, but I wish his face would have been bloodied up or something. Cause like, I realized the Beskar is protecting his, like, from laser bolts and stuff, but like, he's got to have a concussion or something.
Well,
I
mean,
up, dude.
I mean, we don't really know all of the properties of Beskar. Like, it could be like kinetic dampening. I don't know.
Well,
I'm just throwing it out there. But I love the fact that his head, like, the wall gave before the Beskar came. I thought that was awesome.
I thought that was amazing.
To Ben's point, the episode 7 of last year, when we saw, or it might have been the last episode, the finale, when Din finally took his helmet off and he was like beaten and battered, that only came from the excess damage of an explosion where he landed on the ground. He didn't get physically damaged in the head by being hit by something. So I kind of agree that there should have been something, if it was just like a bloody nose or something,
like the infamous like forehead drip that they always do in movies, like just
Drew Brees bruised from his helmet. I mean, just something small,
He got his ass kicked like hard by that Death Trooper, or Dark Trooper. So he should have had because Pedro Pascal's one good looking man. And he looked flawless when he took that helmet off to say goodbye. And I realized, you got to have the close-up moment to say goodbye to Baby Yoda. But it's like there should have been some kind of damage, or he didn't even break a sweat during that whole thing. I was like, bro, you got your ass kicked, had to fight Moff Gideon, had to barely survive another fight. I was like, come on.
Well, we could have also gotten to your point, bit. Frank, go ahead.
Sorry. I was in that fight, they gave some really, really cool imagery with those dark troopers.
Yeah.
Within the door, and then Din uses the flamethrower, and you get this whole. They really built up the.
That scene was terrifying when he was on fire.
Yeah.
It was a straight horror scene.
And it was all built up to get to an eventual scene. So
yeah, it was good. Like this is how strong one dark trooper is. Can you imagine? Because I didn't, I like Star Wars a lot, but I didn't know much about Dark Troopers. And so when the 4 of them captured Baby Yoda, I was like, why didn't they shoot him out of the sky or something? And then when, the whole build up, I'm like, we have to get to the hangar and, shoot him out the airlock. I was like, okay. And then even when he was shooting it with his pistol, I was like, okay, that makes sense. But then when he just was getting his ass handed to him up and down the hallway, I was like, oh, okay, now I get it. Now I get why these guys are so formidable. So when the whole platoon came back, I was like, oh yeah, they're kind of boned.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like watching anyone fighting, Jason in a movie, and that's what I kind of appreciated about it. Is like no matter how many times a Final Girl or any of the characters in a Friday the 13th movie are fighting someone like Jason, he keeps just moving forward, like he's an unstoppable force. And so that's why it kind of felt like a horror movie to me, because they freaking lit him on fire, and the thing was still coming at him. Like,
yeah,
that it was very cool. Just scary imagery. And I was going to say, I saw Tim Sim said, don't forget, it shouldn't scare children. That whole sequence was terrifying. Like that to me is actually arguably one of the scariest sequences in Star Wars from a purely visceral level.
How did you guys feel about the music cue?
I liked it.
I liked it.
I liked it. It's weird. It's a little, it feels out of place a little bit, but I think it also builds those Dark Troopers up as something quite formidable.
I want to. Yeah, I was gonna say. I actually thought this episode had some of the best score in general. Like when the rescue title came up, and it was a very different version of the Mando theme that we'd heard, like all the way to the end. It just felt different, and it kind of felt like they were going all out. Like, I don't know, it just felt different, and I dug it for that.
I got a couple things before we move on too far on the Dark Troopers. So to Ben's point, if when he had taken off his helmet later in the episode, he's all beaten and bloodied, we could actually get a nice callback to Grogu healing him before leaving with Luke.
Oh,
which could have been nice and touching. The other thing, something I forgot earlier, Dr. Pershing says, and I think it's Dr. Pershing that says this. Someone asks Pershing, and I forget who, about the Dark Troopers, and aren't they, people inside the suits?
It was Fennec, I believe. So
Fennec asks about the Dark Troopers being people inside suits.
I think Din asked, he's like, what generation are they, or something like that.
So either way, it's irrelevant who asks it. They actually swapped the Dark Trooper progression from Legends. So in Legends, it went droid, person in a suit, and in this, it's going person in a suit, droid.
Oh, okay.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
Also, these helmets do not protect against concussions. What the fuck is that? That is not a protective helmet. As someone who's had 6 concussions,
have we ever actually seen the inside? Like,
no, but I think this is the.
And they're pressurized, right? Though they can do zero.
Well, I don't think Din's is. Bo's is. You can hear
Bo's and Boba's are, but Din's is not.
Din's is not. Yeah.
Din's is because you hear the sound effect when he takes it off.
Yeah.
Oh, then I'd completely miss that.
Okay.
I think they brought up at some point that his suit wasn't pressurized. I thought that's come up.
I don't know.
We'll just move it on.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you're fine.
No, Ben, that's what we do on this show. You're good. Okay. Don't worry.
About the Dark Troopers, real quick. The question of whether or not they're made of Beskar. Thoughts?
They are not. They're not. Yeah.
Do we have confirmation of that?
Yeah, they got cut the fuck up
they got
by a
cut up
lightsaber.
by a lightsaber. Yeah.
Well, so my question is, what if they're not made of pure Beskar, but just Beskar?
That's true. If it's any sort of Beskar, that's
because if Beskar is as rare as we're made to believe, then
maybe it's not best car.
Probably
it's like
not
a car.
Yeah, there we go. Nicely. Oh wait, over there. Nicely done, Ben.
Ben fits in real well. Ben fits in real well.
Ben, you're now a regular because you fit in real well for the jokes.
I deserve that.
Yeah, but I think if it's as rare as we're made to believe, like it probably isn't pure Beskar. That's
right.
Although
I think that's a great.
That Kenny would just port it all for the Dark Troopers, and that's
I don't. The reason I will say,
even with the amount that he had, though, like he was only able to make, what was 20. It, like 15, 20?
15, 20, somewhere around there? Yeah. I mean, but does he have more somewhere?
Here's what I will say as far as the Beskar thing. I don't think, again, from a production standpoint, I don't think there's a point to make them out of a Beskar alloy if they're not going to block lightsabers. You don't make them out of Beskar and then not set that up. I think it's possible that a future model of them may be made with Beskar.
Either that, or maybe like the gauntlets, because
after Gideon seeing the lights, after Gideon seeing Luke's saber and everything, that's actually
cool.
Okay,
maybe. I mean, I think that they are made out of Beskar only because of what else have we seen that like repels even blaster bolts like that, or as like even nearly as indestructible. Like we haven't seen anything that's that durable.
In canon, no, we have not. You're right.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like we have not seen anything that's that durable in canon. So like I think it's at least a Beskar alloy.
Got you, Tim. I was literally gonna say like, what about blast doors? But like you see, like they're like slowly hammering through the blast door. So
I mean, even blast doors like in Phantom Menace gets melted by a lightsaber. Takes a while, but it still melts them.
Yeah.
Let me think about that.
But that's the thing is like the droids themselves, they don't take a while to get melted. Like, you know, like Qui-Gon is like holding it there and it's slowly like melting away, but he's not cutting through it. So I think like blast doors are probably stronger than at least those blast. I don't know what canon we're going with, but yeah.
Okay. So talking about Beskar, was anyone surprised at the outcome when post Dark Trooper Gideon's with the kid not on the bridge? I mean, I pretty much saw that happening as soon as we saw that Ben didn't give the staff to Bo-Katan.
Yeah, it was 100% gonna have to go that way, and I thought that. Go ahead.
The discussion that Gideon and Din had before their fight, I thought was obviously just like Exposition City, but what I thought was interesting is I actually was sold for like a hot second that Gideon was just going to let him take him.
Me too.
I was like, this is going to be an interesting conversation.
Yeah. I was gonna say I thought it was like even like for television reasons, he was like, I'm gonna go and be the season 3 villain as well.
That's what I thought. Like it's a setup for next season. Like they're gonna save him for next season. Yeah.
So now that we talked about that, I've got a question.
Okay.
And I paused and went frame by frame to try and see if I could get an answer, and I couldn't.
Is your question why they have baby-sized handcuffs? Because I'm still confused on that one.
No, that one actually doesn't bother me. My question is Din's jetpack made out of Beskar?
Yes.
Apparently.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because Gideon definitely hits the jetpack and not the staff when he hits him in the back.
Yeah, the jetpack's made of Beskar, yeah.
So he's even got a Beskar jetpack.
Yeah. Everything he got was complete Beskar.
That's why he tried to trade it to the pirates of the very first episode, or the people that were coming after him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Remember, and he launches him up, and it's a beautiful moment. But I have to shout out Giancarlo Esposito in this scene because he really sold me for like a hot second. I thought
he's so good.
He's so good. And I saw someone in the chat like a while ago back at this point who was like, Moff couldn't really fight. Like he's not really.
I think,
go ahead.
I think we all knew that he's not a like. People forget Moff is not a military title.
Yeah,
it's not.
Yeah, it's
so it's an administrative title.
Like Tarkin can't fight.
Right.
Tarkin can fight, but that's a whole different story.
Can fight, which is a completely different. But Tarkin also got his start in the military.
Right. Moff is certainly more of a tactical. Gideon's certainly more of a tactical type.
Yeah, Moff, but Moff is more like to me. Moff is more like the control they have over the military is akin to like when the governor activates the National Guard. Correct. They don't really have control over the military in most situations, but there are times where they can supplant the military chain of command and take control of whatever military forces are in their general vicinity.
Especially Tarkin, who's a Grand Moff. That's why we see Tarkin.
I was gonna bring up Molly's comment as well. That's my big question. If he can't fight, and okay, I do have a question. I need to pee, so I got to take it out a little bit. But didn't Sabine give Bo-Katan like the? Yeah, she's
I want to
on this thing. Like you have to win
it. So I actually have a pretty. I think I know why she refused.
I think Blaine and I might be on the same page. I'm not sure, but I think I have a thought about that too.
it's because of what the belief that if you don't win the darksaber in combat, you do not. It's similar to the Elder Wand in Harry Potter. You have to win it in a duel. If you don't win it in a duel, it will never be yours.
But so the question is,
even though it was given to her, now that she's lost it, she now feels truly that it cannot be hers unless she wins it. So she cannot take it again as a gift. She has to win it.
So
I think that's what it is.
So in Rebels, remember Sabine never actually won it in combat. She found it and then gave it to Bo.
That too.
And that's a big part that a lot of people aren't talking about, that she actually found it. She never won it in combat. And we also have to remember the timeline. There's a good 15 years or so from that moment until now. Mm-hmm. We don't know what could have happened or if Bo-Katan even knew of the ritual of the darksaber back then.
Correct me on this timeline, though, for Sabine. Sabine finds, the darksaber. They go back to her mom. She hands it over to her mom, and then she hands it to Saxon, right?
Yes,
I was
and Sabine wins it from
Sabine does. Doesn't Sabine win it?
No, does Sabine win it in combat against?
Yeah, she wins it from
Saxon.
Yeah.
Right. The point is,
Thank you, Frank. Good call. Okay.
Saxon didn't win it in battle either. So
that's right. Sabine did win it. Okay, never mind.
So I don't know how the hell they're going to explain this, and I'm curious how they're going to do it because there's like 7 different scenarios in which it was if you had the darksaber, you were still good to go. But now with this scenario in Mandalorian, I don't know how they're going to explain this. So I'm not even. There's like 7 different ways it's happened.
Well,
I don't know the 8th way they're going to do it.
Well, the thing is it's having the darksaber like in all of those situations prior. That person wasn't necessarily good to go as far as the rules of the darksaber. People just accepted them as the leader of Mandalore. And as we've seen, every single one of those people didn't turn out great for them. So they broke the rules. And now I think Sabine has kind of become superstitious about the rules because she's seen, Bo-Katan, because she's seen over the history what happens to the people that don't follow the rules.
Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was gonna bring up was the fact that it may just be a more maturity thing, right? We don't really know Bo-Katan's age. I know there's some speculation on how old she should be or is or whatever, but I think the fact of the matter is Bo-Katan is now much older, much more experienced. She's been through fucking 3 wars involving Mandalore.
Yeah.
Whatever she's been through, the Siege of Mandalore, whatever the Purge was, and what we see in Rebels. So, and that's not counting anything prior the Great Clan War or the first Mandalorian Civil War, which we don't know a lot about.
Bador, that's what I was going to say. I think whatever the big conflict that allowed the Purge to happen was probably between people who supported Bo-Katan and people who did not. Because they found out that she was given the darksaber and she did not win it.
The other thing is maybe they all the other Mandalorians who were in that Purge, they know Gideon has it. And they're like, you know what? Whoever defeats him, we will follow that person. And so if Bo-Katan if they find out Bo-Katan didn't defeat Gideon but still has a darksaber, they might again not recognize because it was, I guess, somewhat unofficially established. If you want to rule Mandalore, then you better go get it from Gideon yourself and not have it handed to you.
And does it have to be to the death? It can't just be like
they didn't mention that.
No,
it does not have to be
to the death. It
Wait,
does not have to be.
Thank you for everyone answering at the same time.
I was going to say the only reason we know that for sure is because, as we saw, Din didn't kill Gideon. He beat him and took the darksaber, and that was kind of it. Gideon's still alive.
And Sabine doesn't kill Gar Saxon.
Sabine does not kill Gar Saxon.
Yeah.
Got it. Cool. That's the thing is that's the storyline I'm interested in.
Yep.
And I know that's what season 3 is. The Luke stuff, that wasn't for me. That's literally the last person I kind of wanted to show up. But the fact that they didn't
I gotta take off in a couple minutes.
The fact that they didn't even touch on it, the darksaber stuff, anymore after Luke showed up. I was like, okay, they're saving all of it for season 3. So I'm really, really excited for that stuff.
Yeah, so I guess let's jump into it real quick so that you run to the restroom real quick. Yep, I got you.
Let's just hand it over to Dwayne. Dwayne, what were your thoughts? So, well, first, I do want to come back to the whole darksaber conflict between Bo and that. But we see the X-wing come out of hyperspace. What was everyone's first thought when they saw that X-wing?
I immediately knew it was Luke.
I immediately knew.
It.
There was a little part of me that was like, "Is that dude again? Like, what's
Carson doing here?"
And I was like, "Oh no, they're doing it! Holy shit, they are gonna do it!"
My first thought was actually, okay, so Carson's here. He's gonna call a New Republic fleet, and then we're gonna have to see Din, Bo, and the whole team escape the ship while the ship's being blown up by the New Republic.
Ooh,
that was my first thought.
That
was like, okay, cool. We're getting a Metroid. We're getting a Metroid escape scene, and then as soon as the X-wing landed, I went, "Oh, okay."
The moment that they were like,
fucking Red 5.
When they said to the pilot, they're like, who is this?" And there's no response. That's when it was like, I already knew, but just when he didn't even respond, it was like, oh, it's Luke. It's 100% Luke. Yeah. And so this moment brought me nothing but joy. And I know that this is going to be one of the most divisive parts of talking about this episode is what comes out of this situation. But I think one of the things, because Dwayne, Sean, and I were on a call super late that night talking about this exact sequence. And I think we all kind of came to a place where we were all like, I understand where people are frustrated, but I still contend the one thing that I'm happy about, and it was the one thing they were smart about. We know Luke is a pacifist. That is the whole point of Return of the Jedi. Luke throws the saber away. He won't kill Vader. He won't kill Palpatine. These are droids that have put a force-sensitive something.
Whoa, hold on. Droid rights matter.
Not dark troopers.
Did the Red Arm mean nothing to you?
I will slap you. So I thought it was very smart to make sure that he was not fighting stormtroopers. He wasn't hurting any being. It was the dark troopers, and Luke is on a mission to try to rescue whatever this force sensitive thing is.
Once they introduced those dark troopers, I was like, okay, that's Jedi fodder. I mean, like either Ahsoka or somebody else. That's exactly what that's what they're for.
Yeah, you definitely can hear the Luke score. That was
I don't know which member. Yep, but I was gonna say, yep, that's 100% what I was thinking. As soon as you said that, I was like, is he though?
But that was before.
Yeah, it's before the end of the movie.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. At the end of Return of the Jedi, he throws the lightsaber to the side, and he has decided he's not going to hurt anyone.
I think the pacifism thing. I think the pacifism thing matters a lot more when you're talking about Jedi on Jedi, because the problem is. So let's talk about.
Go ahead.
Let's talk about the nature of the Force. When you're looking at a dark side Force user, be it a Sith or someone like, say, a Night Sister, they are that way because of their fear, their anger, their hate, their negative emotions are making them that way. They're not all bad people, as we see with someone like Anakin or Ben Solo. Like, they're not all bad people, right? They are just corrupted. So when you have a Jedi confronting a dark side Force user, it is your duty to convert them. It is your duty to bring them back to see the light again. Hello, my name is Elder Skywalker. All that. Like, it is their duty. So I think it's right. And Brandon, I totally agree with that. I think that is the moment we see Luke become. I think he was already a Jedi Knight at that point, but that's where we see him start to switch to Master. But I don't think it matters as much if it's droids or stormtroopers or what have you. Now, ultimately, people are going to make comparisons between this and The Last Jedi. I don't care if you like The Last Jedi or not. I honestly don't. That is canon. Mm-hmm. That characterization of Luke is our canon characterization of Luke. But that's also 24 years after this.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's 24 years of development between this scene of Luke cutting down dark troopers and where he is on Ahch-To. So, yeah, you can have issues with it. and I'm fine with people that have issues with it. But I think this builds his character more because it shows that he's learned so much from this point.
So let's get Dwayne's full thoughts on this because I know he has to hop out because he has stuff that he's got to do. So Dwayne, I want to go to you. What you took all this in? We all watched it together. Oh, watched it and then talked about it. So, what are your thoughts on it?
This is the 2 thumbs down part of the episode.
Yeah.
Totally. I really did not like this. But on all facets, to be completely honest. I did not like the aging CGI. I don't think that this was a great piece of character work as far as Luke is concerned. I don't, and it's not because I don't like The Last Jedi and where he ended up. I just think that certain things don't make sense as far as timing is concerned. I also really would have preferred it just to be anyone other than Luke. And I know everyone's like, oh, but the most powerful Force user in the galaxy. I don't think he necessarily is the most powerful Force user in the galaxy currently. So
because we know Ahsoka's alive.
You're talking about post Jedi.
Exactly.
Okay.
No, post Jedi, definitely not. I think Ahsoka is way more powerful than he is, and I think the only reason that we didn't is because people want Luke so badly, and I think that, and say what you will about what I'm about to say, but I think Luke is, for lack of a better term, Lucasfilm's get out of jail free card is whenever they're like, we're not really sure how the fan base is going to take something like Grogu leaving Din, let's toss him Luke Skywalker because that'll fucking make up for it. I 100%.
Yep.
100%.
100%.
I think the fact that he was that skilled with a lightsaber is one of my biggest problems with that whole sequence. Because who the fuck taught him that? But still, I think that it could have been anyone else and it would have been just as explainable, but they wanted to ease the blow of Grogu leaving Din by giving us Luke Skywalker.
I mean, I don't have a lot of disagreement in how you see it. I don't know, or I should say, I don't necessarily agree with what you're saying, but I do understand where you're coming from. As far as it being Luke, the only thing is like the show was so insistent on being he had to be left with a Jedi, not just a Force user. Like that was the whole thing at the beginning, was it would have to be a Jedi. And as far as we're concerned,
we have a whole list of Jedi that survived Order 66.
But as far as we're concerned right now, Luke was the last Jedi. That was literally the title of a movie that came out a couple of years ago. And
that's 24 years from this point. He's the last Jedi, not right now.
Hear me out. No, and you're right. But as far as as far as the audience is concerned, Luke is like the only Jedi that they're aware of right now, because this is for not just for us.
That got blown up when Ahsoka showed up. That is you can't even say the audience believes that because they gave us other Jedi in this show.
And Ahsoka has also turned her back on the Jedi Order and walked away. And
how many times was she given the chance to say, I am not a Jedi, and they made a point to have her not say it in that episode.
I brought up the same thing yesterday.
They had a point for her to not say, I am not a Jedi.
Well, I could give you the inverse of that argument. Like, there's plenty of times she could have said she was.
No, because every other chance after she left the Order, when she was called a Jedi, she made a point to say, I am not a Jedi, or I am no longer a Jedi. But in that episode, she did not say it once.
Well, I mean, the end result is she still turned down Grogu. So, I mean,
but that's not that. But that doesn't mean that she's not a Jedi.
Okay,
so
but if we're talking about who's going to show up, well, we know it's not going to be Ahsoka because she turned him down. So then, who leaves that?
Well, she turned down training him. It doesn't mean that she can't come back to help him. But my point being is there's a whole list of Jedi that supposedly survived Order 66. There's a whole list.
But we don't know that they've survived another
True.
26
But
years.
that could have been the this could have been the confirmation. That's what I'm saying. It did not have to be Luke Skywalker for everyone. Like, it had to be Luke. It had to be Luke. No, it didn't. It did not have to be
true. That's
People just wanted it to be Luke.
I think that this. I don't think anyone's going to change anyone's minds on this subject.
No. And
So
I don't
that's-
think
that's-
anyone's arguing. Like,
and I so the one thing I want to bring up as a touchstone here, and I haven't read this novel. I just know it exists, and I've watched Alex Damon's synopsis on it. But there's a young reader novel, Legends of Luke Skywalker, that tells stories of Luke going and doing heroic deeds. This very much reminded me of what I heard about that. I'm probably going to go back and read this now. They just did a manga adaptation, so I'm probably going to pick that up.
It's actually a really good book, Sean.
Has anyone done the manga adaptation of it?
I haven't yet. I really want to. I want to pick it up. I haven't had a chance.
But I just saw that was a thing, and I'm like, okay, I'll try that. But so this very much reminded me of that. Like, Luke went and did the hero gig for a little while, and this very much reminds me of that. I want to hear, because I think Ben is in a similar camp to Dwayne. I don't know for a fact.
Yeah.
Ben, where do you stand on this?
I just Dwayne has a more like big technical, because Dwayne knows more about Star Wars than me. And I like Dwayne's reasoning behind it. I don't think it had to be Luke. I'm just so tired of it, man. I love season 1 because it was we have a galaxy far, far away, but again, we have to go back to the Skywalkers. Like, it could have been Quinlan Vos. It could have been, you guys know the number of Jedi that survived Order 66. It didn't have to be Ahsoka or Luke. There's more people out there, and we could have introduced someone new. I do agree that they gave Luke Skywalker because that's what people are talking about now. It blew up the internet. It's kind of silencing the fact that we might not get Baby Yoda in season 3. We might, Disney will be like, oh, well, we don't have that merchandise, but here's your young Luke Skywalker action figure. And so and I mean, I don't mind the moment. It was cool to see Luke in action. The CGI was Rogue One bad. Like, I couldn't believe that 4 years later, it still looks
worse.
Good.
It was worse than Rogue One.
Like, I understand why, because there's no way they could have got Sebastian Stan on set and gotten him out without anybody leaking something. There's no possible way.
Wasn't he also in another country taping for? Yeah,
I'm just saying, even if they could have flown him in.
And when Mando season 2 started, they had not started taping Falcon and Winter Soldier yet. They started 3 weeks after Mando, so they had time. They had time.
I just don't think they could have gotten him in or out without it leaking. I would have preferred some look-alike, because we've got the glove, we've got the green lightsaber, we've got the X-wing. It doesn't need to be that. It really didn't need to be that.
Yeah. Also, they beat us over the head with the, hey, here's your clues that it's Luke.
Yeah. Well, I enjoyed that, and I'll tell you why. When he first comes out of the hangar in the robe, I actually didn't think it was Luke. I thought it was going to be Leia.
Yeah.
That would have been.
I mean, that would have been
fucking
so much better.
I would have preferred Leia.
Holy shit.
Yeah, if it had been Leia, I would have been like, oh, this is dope.
But then once he started moving,
Skywalker, absolutely.
Yeah. That would have been really cool, because it would have played into what we saw in Rise of Skywalker.
And I think that lines up. And then Leia could still take Grogu to Luke, right? Luke can still be the one to train Grogu or whatever. But that would have been an interesting tie-in, because I think timeline lines up. Molly, Reef, Bador, you guys might know better than I do. I think Leia finished her training about 7 years after Jakku.
Okay.
Maybe less. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just, we brought up The Last Jedi and everything like that. Everyone's like, well, that's not my Luke. It's like, why are you doing this? We have an entire galaxy, and it's just people don't want anything else besides what they know of Star Wars. Do we want, I don't know. It just felt so strange that this show has been so successful doing the underworld stuff, doing things we haven't seen before, introducing new characters. And then this Cobb Vanth, 5% of Star Wars fans knew who Cobb Vanth was, but everybody loved him because it was Timothy Olyphant being a sheriff badass that he's played for the last 30 years of television. It was great. And so, You could easily have introduced someone like Quinlan Vos, where hardcore Star Wars fans know who he is. This badass Native American Jedi with a fucking sick tattoo across his face and long hair. He takes this Jedi cloak off like who is
we
this?
Actually did a few episodes ago. We actually did we talked about who we would cast for him because that's who I wanted. I wanted it to be Quinlan.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Either him or if we could have got Rahul Kohli as
Ezra.
Like, give us. You know how awesome it would have been to see a person of color save the day.
Yep.
I wanted, like I said, I wanted Saeed from Lost as Quinlan Vos, you know. But
Yeah,
look,
either him or Oded Fair. That's my pick. But
like, look, ultimately,
hey, real quick, I do have to go because
Right,
I'm already 15 minutes late. But thank you guys for having me.
Always.
Brandon was in the chat. He could deal
Yeah.
with it.
tell Hannah to take it up.
Hey, Dwayne, we're in 2 weeks. We're taking, or in 3 weeks, we're going to do like a follow up and talk about what we want from season 3 and stuff. So we'll see you then.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone, tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Pacific time, a very net blank Christmas musical is being released on YouTube. I will be in the chat of the live premiere as well as Maxwell, and you guys can see what I've been working on for the past 2 weeks. I'm really super excited. Please support it. You can also find it on Twitter. I think it might be my pin tweet.
We'll be plugging it.
But
we'll be plugging it on our.
Check it out. Thank you guys, and I will see you in 10 minutes on Brandon Hanna's channel.
Bye, buddy.
As far as the very net blank Christmas, we can't say the name because we don't want to get sued. Not me. I'm not involved in it, but I support it because it's my friends. If you follow PJ Campbell Network Twitter, I'm sure we'll retweet it. If you follow my Twitter, Max's Twitter, Dwayne's Twitter, we're all going to be talking about it. So we saw some early footage of it last night, and it's fucking hilarious, and it's very good. Max has talented friends. In addition, for Dwayne, go pick up Rangers of Gorlin. We'll talk about it again soon, but we're going to be doing Book Nook here on the PJ Campbell Network with Dwayne Burke and Maxwell Haddad.
I liked it. Jake liked it. Frank liked it.
I'm conflicted, but I think it fits within Star Wars.
Yeah.
I fucking loved it.
I don't think it's fair to also say that people are never satisfied. I mean, people are allowed to feel how they feel, and I have no problem.
It's okay to be critical of things you like.
Yeah,
I am the.
I
It's
don't
funny
know
because
you, Silent Moose, but I don't give a shit anymore. It's okay to be like, I've been nothing but positive about this whole fucking season.
Do it, Ben. Do it.
I have a criticism about something, I'm gonna say it. You don't have to blindly love everything about something you like. You can be like, hey, I like this and I didn't like this. So kiss my entire ass right now. Oh my God.
someone go clip that out.
Yeah.
Do we have a guy that clips that? Chris Clark? Are you here? Clip that out.
I love that we can have differing opinions on it, because even though I liked it was Luke, I can appreciate the people who don't, and that it's okay.
I understand why people don't like it.
I do too.
And I feel bad that there are a few people within our community who have said their thoughts, and I feel bad that they're getting attacked over it.
Like, I do too.
Brandy was saying, I'm not going to name names of any creators who liked or didn't like it. But Brandy told us that she had to delete a fuck ton of comments from someone's YouTube channel because they were fucking death threats. You're telling me you're giving death threats because someone didn't like Luke Skywalker kicking ass? Yeah. Look, this goes back to the fucking Last Jedi thing and the Rise of Skywalker thing. This goes back to the Last Jedi and the Rise of Skywalker thing. There are a lot of people that did not like Last Jedi. And this is very much the reverse of that. And it sucks because we should be no one should attack anyone for their fucking opinions. Look, I am the guy that fucking loves Star Wars no matter how shitty it is. I said it this way the other day. My two least favorite Star Wars movies. And okay, look, no. Clone Wars can go fuck itself. That movie's terrible. My second least favorite Star Wars movie is still in my top 20 movies of all time, maybe top 25. Like, you know, it's people love this franchise like no other. For some people, this is their Bible. That being said, I have only seen 30 movies, Brandy. You're correct.
I would not be surprised by that, to be honest.
It's probably about 100. Ultimately, I have been more critical of this season of Mando than anything. And I haven't been on this show because I get all that out on the Gucciverse show, and then I come here and be educational. So it's kind of nice that I get to do 2 shows, because I can be critical on the other one and come here and be excited. Because we get to vent. Once we get to vent those opinions, it's so much easier, right? Look, I think that there's ways you could have had Luke kick ass and still be in line with what we see in The Last Jedi and what we learn of Luke later, right? You don't need 25 Dark Troopers or however many fucking Dark Troopers there are. Yeah. We got to see Din. We got to see how hard it was for Din to we got to see how hard it was for Din to go one-on-one with one of these Dark Troopers. If you saw that and then you saw Luke cut through 5 of these instead of having to.
Yes.
And I'm the same way. I didn't want it to be Luke Skywalker either.
Well, I wanted to point that one out specifically because this is a bigger conversation that we can have at another time. But there's something to be said about fans not getting what they want and being upset it wasn't what they wanted.
I said when he was on the Rock 2 weeks ago, I was like, man, I hope it's not Luke. But when the X-Wing pulled up, I couldn't help but smile. I was like,
100%, man.
They did it. Like, I was like, man, they really went for it this season with so many big characters that, hardcore Star Wars fans love and the general public loves. Like, the show's making a lot of right moves. So even me that, like, I'm still taking solace in the fact that, you know what? I didn't like the Luke thing, but I cannot wait to see what they do with the darksaber. That's the point. Then that's what I'm focusing on. And that's what's good about this show is that they're giving it a little bit of both. I wish it would stay a little bit smaller because I don't want to go back to Empire versus Rebels. Like, I want to see Din. Right. I want to see the Mandalorian. And if he takes place in a more Mandalore bigger arc, that's great. I just don't want to see the building of the First Order. Does Kylo kill Grogu? But yeah, Molly, exactly. Like when, because I remember when the Bill Burr episode, the last one, I was watching it with my roommate. I jumped up when they used the concussion grenade, the sonic grenade. I was like, they fucking did it! Like, I love that nostalgia stuff, bringing that back. I'm all about it. But I just didn't want it to be Luke. But man, when that X-Wing pulled up, I was like, no way. And then when the lightsaber ignites, I was like, oh my God, they did it. Like, and then he unveiled his hood, and I was like, oh my God, they didn't do it.
But I mean, you have to admit, like you said, it put a big ass smile on your face regardless. And man, like, it was kind of fun to be the parallel for Rogue One. We didn't necessarily need it, but I'll also say, the term fan service, I've seen a lot of people being like, oh, everything about this episode was fan service. That word has lost all meaning because people don't know what it means. All they want to do is use it when they're upset about stuff. It actually works in the confines of the story. Bad fan service is when things are done and forced. This at least makes sense to the timeline in the story, in my opinion.
I also will say, if you like Rogue One, you can never use fan service as a negative. Okay?
I love Rogue One.
Yeah, that's fine.
No, right.
Everyone was sliding in like my comments when I was like, oh, Last Jedi came out. I had my best 30th birthday. I was like, well, technically The Last Jedi. I was like, I don't know. Like, I almost responded to someone's like, because I saw this guy respond to like 4 different people's Last Jedi thing. I was like, dude, you don't need to comment on every single person's Last Jedi tweet. No one needs your opinion that much. They really don't. And I wasn't sliding into everybody's DMs about Rogue One the next day because that was that anniversary. It was just like, you could like Rogue One. You just can't use fan service as a negative if you do.
Yeah. And now, real quick, Frank, we haven't heard from you yet on any of this. What were your thoughts? So
I initially, I was like, I wonder if it's going to be Luke. And it always came around to like, it just makes sense that it'd be Luke. It would be Luke because at this stage in the game, Luke would be the most powerful Jedi. I know Dwayne says Ahsoka, and he could be right, or at least they're on equal footing. But if that's even the case, then I was like, well, Ahsoka said no, so that would just leave Luke. And yeah, there are other possible Force users or Jedi out there, sure, but that just opens up a whole nother can of worms of how to explain that character. And we're already opening up so many other different storylines that it's like, would they really add another one? I didn't think so. So when it was Luke, I was a little bit not super surprised. I was just more curious about like, how are they even gonna do this? Because you obviously can't get Return of the Jedi Mark Hamill on set, right? That's just not gonna happen. And I was very skeptical of how could you do it with the technology, and what were you even gonna do with him? I was like, I can't, and for the most part, I felt like they handled it pretty well with all the the fight scenes and all that stuff. And this other thing that I'm sorry that Dwayne's not here, and I have to like kind of try to counter his point.
No, you're fine.
Of, his fighting, like how did he learn how to do that? Look, people buy a guitar, they get a book,
I did love
and
that.
they learn how to buy the guitar and they can get really good all on their own. So it's like Luke's been reading and traveling and learning all this other stuff. It's not that big of a stretch. Also, this is a fantasy story. It's like not that big of a deal. So, anyways.
It's also been 5 years since Return of the Jedi. Yeah. Who knows what 5 years has done for Luke Skywalker?
So I thought it was
Look at Jake Paul in boxing. Like if Jake Paul can learn how to box in 2, Luke Skywalker in 5 fucking years.
Hey Ben, you're a YouTuber now. When do you release your rap album, or when do you box another YouTuber?
LeBron, fight me. Pay me $5 million, and I will take a fight with LeBron right now.
But I think
Joe, we all love Mark Hamill. Come on now.
And seeing Prime Luke Skywalker is something that almost everybody probably thought they'd never see. And this may be the only time they ever do it. Just like we thought, and we'll find out later with the Kenobi series, but like that Vader scene in Rogue One, like we might not ever see that again. And I don't know what we'll get with the Kenobi, and that's another story. But I thought getting this Luke for this moment made sense for the story. And if you had read this in a story, like if it wasn't a TV show or a movie, and you just read this story, people would be like, that's a really cool story. And that's what I keep coming back to, was the story for Grogu and Din, and it has led to this moment. And it just happens to be Luke Skywalker, and that just happens to make the most sense to me, at least. And apparently to the writers of the show as well. So I didn't have a huge problem. Sure, the CGI was like, yikes. But, I can get past that because of what they were doing with the story. And it's really, at the end of the day, it is about the story for me. And really, I know we'll get to this, but when Grogu and Din part ways, that's the most emotional, impactful moment that I had from the episode and really the series overall to date. And it kind of sucks that this whole Luke Skywalker conversation detracts from that, because while I do hear some of the conversations out there about the Din and Grogu aspect, really everyone is just still talking about Luke, and I get it, but it's a little bit unfortunate as well.
Yeah, and I mean, the truth of the matter is they wanted to control the news cycle, and they did, and the Luke reveal was a big part of that. Jake, what were your overall thoughts on this?
Yeah, I loved every second of it. And I know that from conversations with multiple people and over the last 24 hours or so, I totally, and I said, I understand where everybody comes from about not liking it, not really understanding why it had to be Luke or anything that has to do with this scene. But for me, one of the biggest reasons why I love it so much is it kind of plays into a lot from this season in general. What we've seen from The Mandalorian are two things. One, it truly is about what it means to be a Mandalorian, right? The show is all about Din learning what it means to be a Mandalorian. But the second half of this is that it's kind of a connective tissue for all of Star Wars. It is bringing the prequel era, it is bringing the original trilogy era, and even little tiny things of the sequel trilogy that we see in the future as well, together into one big thing. And just like Ben said about, keeping it smaller stories, this individual story rather than galaxy wide, I would much rather see that, yes. But they've done such a great job of integrating things that we've learned and heard and understand from the prequel trilogy to the original trilogy, and then future stories as well. Even books like Cobb Vanth, you know, he comes in from the books, and they're bringing that stuff in as well. And this is kind of that connective tissue to the original trilogy so far. Yes, we have pieces of like the Empire and things that have popped up, but this is the biggest thing that we've seen so far from the original trilogy pop up in this series.
Yep.
And we saw it with someone like Bo-Katan from the Clone Wars. We saw it with Ahsoka from the Clone Wars. It's very similar to this, but because it's such a massive scale of Luke Skywalker, the biggest character to ever come out of Star Wars, yes, it's going to create chaos online. And it sucks that it has to come to this. PJ had a quick conversation about it yesterday. It sucks that it has to come to this, and it's just a bummer that we can't be like, yeah, I wasn't really a fan of it, and then be like, well, what didn't you like about it? And have a civil conversation. The second someone says something, it's just sheer anger, and it sucks. It absolutely sucks.
And that's the thing that gets to me the most, right? Like,
and that's why Ben and I, after this is over, our friendship's over, because I clearly can't listen to his opinion.
Knife fighting in an alley, which is what the new level of fandom of Star Wars is. Yeah. If you don't prison shank your friend for disagreeing with you on Star Wars, you don't love Star Wars. Sorry.
And you don't love your friend either.
That's actually the ticket to celebration. You have to show the death certificate of your fellow Star Wars friend that you murdered over either The Last Jedi or The Mandalorian.
Yep.
There's, you know, I mean, me and PJ have had a lot of conversations about this. Me and Dwayne have had a lot of conversations about this. But there's one thing that I think us, all six of us that have been on the show, all of us in this community are missing. No matter how much we want to say, like, Ben, you made a comment earlier, like, you guys are bigger Star Wars fans than us. I don't know that we are. Like, all of us are in this upper tier of.
I put like a different level, like, you know, like you and Alex and, you know, Ace and like Joseph Scrimshaw and stuff like that. I love Star Wars, and I agree that if you've only seen the movies and you love all the movies, you're a big Star Wars fan. Yeah. I just put it in, like, different tiers because, like, you guys have read the books and the comics and stuff like that. Like,
well, and I agree with that too. But like, my point that I'm getting to, I got texts yesterday from my dad and my younger sister. My younger sister is a pretty big Star Wars fan, but nowhere near the level that any of us are. My dad, he's the one that introduced me to Star Wars, but he's never seen the fucking. I convinced him to watch the last 4 episodes of Clone Wars before watching The Mandalorian, and I'm glad I did. And he loved it. But I'll tell you what, I got texts from both of them that basically said, "What the fuck, Luke Skywalker?" And they were so excited. And that's ultimately, like, all of us neckbeards on the internet. Ben, you're too handsome to be a neckbeard, but
hey, I tried for a little bit. It was too itchy, man. It was too itchy.
I'll say this, like, to Sean's point, this is something I was kind of saying earlier, is like, at the end of the day, the fans can feel how they're going to feel because they're always going to. But the truth of the matter is, Luke Skywalker and this story is also being told to a general audience who doesn't know about most of the other stuff just yet. And right now, in this timeline, Luke was the person. For better, you know, and we all got giddy about it. We don't have to necessarily love it, but also the truth of the matter is the Luke part is not the most important part of this episode.
Not at all.
No. So let's get to that part. We've talked about Luke for how fucking long? Let's get to.
And I want to say thank you guys for being, like, as awesome as you are. I love the 5 of you so much. That includes Dwayne, who left, because
even
we are.
Frank?
Yes, I even love Frank. I mean, you know, it's.
I do want to say one thing. Out of all of this stuff that's been happening with Star Wars over the last couple of years, the division that has been created, everyone has to remember stuff like this. What's happening right now on the PJ Campbell Network does not happen if we don't disagree and agree.
Right.
Yes.
It does not happen if we don't agree or disagree. Same thing with all the Schmodown shows that happen as well. All you people who are watching. Those shows don't happen if we don't agree and disagree, and we're allowed to do so civilly. And this is what it looks like on screen. It's okay to like,
totally fine,
except Frank Janish, because Frank Janish's disagreements about Schmodown. Look,
but and that's the thing, is that, like, it's never been for me about disagreeing opinions. Like, there are parts about Star Wars that I do not understand how people like. I don't get how Ace loves Rise of Skywalker. I do not understand it because The movie is a train wreck to me, but so is Rogue One for me. But like, I love talking about that, but it's when, I've never called someone a fake fan for liking Rogue One or Rise of Skywalker. I've never, I haven't even thought about like threatening violence against anybody for liking anything. But, and that's the thing is that, Ace tweeted, I was like, oh, I'm getting told that I hate Star Wars because I like Star Wars. Like that's where we are now. And so it's just like the gray area and the discourse has just been eliminated from the internet. And I just don't know why, because if you like something, then you like something, and that's okay. And you can like it or dislike it for different reasons.
Yep.
Like if you like Luke Skywalker simply because he's Luke Skywalker, that's great. If you don't, then that's fine too. Like it's subjectivity. People are going to react to different things differently.
Yeah.
PJ, can you highlight Reefton's comment real quick?
Let me find it. I got you.
The most recent one.
Sorry, PJ.
Hey, Sean.
Yes, Reefton. Yes.
Look, Reefton doesn't like the German representation in the Schmodown.
Well, and real quick, Pardis, to your point, this is again the problem is people take this stuff to a fanatical level versus actually having civil discourse. And it's a problem with the culture that we've created online versus actually talking. And that's why having different people with different opinions on here is so great. Like we can actually have a discourse and a conversation that's important to the fandom that I think people should see and actually hear people out versus the bullshit that happens online 95% of the time. And the thing that we've built with the channel, and I continue to hope feels true, is that we try to be optimistic and bring like a light to conversation that needs to be highlighted. That's
but
always
optimistic. I've heard some people say that sometimes we're a little too positive on things. Optimistic does not always mean
a watch along of Fallen Kingdom with
We're
PJ.
doing it.
Thank you. That's all I need.
I won't be there for that.
I will fuck it. I say we do it with Rogue One. We'll double feature it.
I would love to do a watch along with myself, Adam Witt, and Ben for Rogue One. And we need to find someone else who doesn't like Rogue One. But I would love to do that.
All right.
Oh, does Adam not like Rogue One?
No, Adam loves Rogue One.
Okay.
I want to get both sides of the spectrum here. I assume Adam loves Rogue One. Adam loves everything Star Wars.
With all that, let's get into the important meat of the end of this episode, right? What happens, Sean? Luke showed up in what?
Luke shows up. Luke doesn't say much, and I really wish. I understand why they didn't do that. Look, I'll make it known now. This was some of the worst fucking CGI I've seen in a Star Wars in a very, very long time. I would just
the MCU, were the MCU people too busy to do the de-aging because they're
So if there's a point about that. Peyton Reed was the one that directed this.
Yeah.
Who directed all the Ant-Man movies, and they have fucking beautiful CGI there.
Those movies cost, more than $15 million.
I get that. I get that.
Come on, guys. Come on.
But Luke Skywalker looks better in Battlefront 2, voiced by Matt Mercer, than he does in this. So we don't get a whole lot of, but regardless of that, we don't get a whole lot of Luke talking. But his presence is there, and I like his presence. He pulls back the hood in the same way he kind of does in Jabba's palace, which is a great callback. Something that I saw, I forget who said this. Saul said this. I really wish we had gotten, I'm Luke Skywalker, I'm here to rescue you.
No,
like he says,
too far.
Too cheesy.
Might have been too far, but I just wanted it.
Too cheesy. After he's done the rescuing, though.
Yeah, fair.
Weird. Yeah, and also, if he would have said that in front of those characters, they would have been like,
"Who?
Who the fuck are you?"
What if he said that? What if when they hailed him on the X-wing, he had said that?
No, because then you ruined the reveal of him taking the.
I actually, and I know that he didn't say a lot. I really like the fact that he didn't say a lot because what he said was very important.
Because he's not a brash.
Extremely important.
He's not acting as a brash hero here. He's doing the heroics, but he's not basking in it, which I think fits with his character. But we get before Din gives up Grogu, he says he's asking for your permission.
Yep.
And Din picks up Grogu. Grogu puts the hand on the helmet, and Din takes off the helmet. and it was. I thought this was one of the best scenes in this show.
I full on teared up. Full on teared up.
Yeah,
It's very good.
I did too.
I knew exactly what was coming, obviously, but you get the moment and you finally get to see them see each other for the first time, and you see him put him down, and the whole line with Luke as well saying he's asking for permission. That's a big deal because it's a son asking his father for permission to go do this. Yeah. And we've seen it multiple times. We've all experienced it in real life as well. So for us, it's a big deal because it's a son and a father moment for the very first time, seeing them face to face too. That played a big part in it.
And one of the things I liked in the episode, like it was very clear that when they were trapped, Grogu felt responsible. Like that was the first time it really felt like he kind of understood that he was continually a problem. Like when he puts him down and he goes, "I promise, like we're gonna get out of here." He looks sad. Like he looks like this is because of me and we may not get out of here. It was the first time it felt like Grogu really kind of understood that he was the problem, which is why when Luke showed up, I think that he was like, no, I do need to leave. I need to protect you because you have been taking care of me. And this is me letting go and letting you like move forward.
Really like that.
I never
thought of
that.
I like that theory for sure because I was wondering, I was like, is he like still tired from because I mean he just got out of prison, so
right.
So I was like, because he did look sad, like on the bridge, like when the dark troopers were coming back. I was like, why is he so sad right now? Is he still like exhausted? And I didn't know, like maybe he was calling out to the Force, maybe he was calling out to Luke at that moment. But no, like, yeah, even if you don't like the Luke Skywalker moment, this moment is just, it's pure gold. And it's so, so emotional because we haven't really got a lot of emotional moments between these two. No. And just like you got a glimpse of it with how far Din is willing to go to get him back. He is willing to break every oath he ever took for Grogu to get him back. And then just, we got the Liam Neeson message of, hey, you don't know how much he means to me. I'm coming for you now. And he doesn't care about, he just wants the child. Like he was willing to give up the darksaber. He doesn't care about any of that. And then for him to, and we didn't know, like, we kind of knew that he wasn't going to go with Ahsoka, but we honestly still didn't really know if he was going to go with whoever showed up because one of the merchandising reasons, and two, because like, maybe Din should be the one to train him. Like maybe he wouldn't become a Jedi, but a very force sensitive Mandalorian or something like that. So I liked a lot of like in the end of this episode, like just rips your heart out. It was tough to watch, but it was so good and it was handled so well.
There's a little bit of a shift in this moment, right? Even before the whole helmet situation happens. If we go back to the Ahsoka episode, Grogu didn't know who she was. He couldn't really feel her in the Force. He didn't really understand what was going. He still was like totally attached to Din. In this episode, that moment where he's watching Luke over the monitor and Din's watching with him, that was like the moment for me where I realized, okay, Din's now understanding what's going on with him.
Yes.
He's understanding that Grogu feels something with this character. At this point, we didn't know it was Luke. Din doesn't know who he is, etc.
Damn it, Tim.
And it's and so that was the moment for me that I kind of started to realize, like, oh, this relationship just went to a whole nother level. Like the fact that Din is realizing, Grogu is realizing who this is, who he's kind of meant to be. He's understanding who he was in the past. And then you add on everything that came after that. It was just a beautiful sequence that had happened with the two of them.
Yeah, did anyone think that like R2-D2 was the one that sealed the
I was going to say R2 is not getting enough credit.
Yeah. I feel like he sealed the deal. I was like,
I love the fact that he showed up and he just came rolling up out of nowhere. Yeah. It was amazing.
I honestly thought Grogu was going to ride him off into the sunset.
I would have loved to have seen one of his arms come out and hand him like a little flashlight or something.
Call back to Empire. I love that little moment of R2 recognizing Grogu as, oh, my friend that I got to fight with over a fucking flashlight. Yeah,
would have been cool if like as like Grogu's walking away, and then Din's like, "Here, kid," and he tosses him like the little ball and like
So-
Someone had asked that in the chat about the little ball too. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I think would have been nice, maybe it's a little too corny. I don't know. Look, I'm not a fucking cinematographer, director, or writer, any of this shit, but it would have been great if, like, as you know, Luke has him on his shoulder, and Grogu's kind of looking at Din. If Din pulls the ball out and holds it up, and Grogu just snaps it to his hand, would have been a nice little, again, a little send off.
Or if Grogu just did it without Din even like offering it, he just like just grabbed it. As he
Yeah.
I think that was
Din holding on to it. I think that's a good moment, Sean. I like that
Mhm.
moment quite a bit, like him holding it up, like one last time of him playing catch with it, literally playing catch with his dad.
Yeah.
But I like that Din held on to it, like as a like remembering him by.
and we're definitely gonna get that moment where he pulls it out and looks at it, and then he remembers.
The entire ship's gone. Like,
Yeah.
it's the only thing left of the ship, and like now it's the only thing left to remember. He's selfies with him.
Din has lost in the past. He's lost everything, really.
Yep.
He lost
His
ship.
his
He
ship.
lost Grogu. Like,
his rifle.
Well,
damage control.
and so here's the other thing now too. Like, as we've kind of talked about, the only thing he has left now that Grogu's gone, he's the heir to Mandalore. Like
Mhm.
because he has the darksaber now. The other part of this conversation is now what for him, because now he's at odds with Bo-Katan in a way that he was not intentionally, or not that he wanted to be.
I don't know that he's going to be at odds with Bo-Katan. I think that there will be some internal strife with this. I think that there will be some conflict, but I don't know that he's at odds. I think that what we could see is Bo-Katan teaching him.
That's
Interesting.
Yep.
And that's what I would rather see, is Bo-Katan teach him to be the Mandalore. Because what did I say earlier in this season? Din is the perfect person to be Mandalore.
You paused so long, I thought you were really asking us. I was like, I don't know.
What did I say earlier in the season?
Ben doesn't
anyone
actually watch
fucking
this
remember?
channel. It's fine.
What did I say earlier in this season? Din is the perfect person
the glasses
to
are on.
bridge the gap between the Children of the Watch, or the tribe, whatever you want to call them, and the true Mandalorians, or they don't really have a good name, so we'll call them true Mandalorians. They can bridge that gap, and they can be, Din can be the bridge between the two. I think if we get another season of The Mandalorian, we've talked about this internally. I don't really want to talk too much about what's coming next because we don't fucking know. But if we bridge the gap between the two, Din is the perfect person because he sees both sides now. Not only that, but he knows about the Jedi, and the Jedi are the ancient enemies of the Mandalore. He's fought the Empire. Like, he's done all of this now. He is slowly building his credentials as a leader. He is the leader of his own tribe, a tribe that is not, or his own clan, a new clan that is not cemented in Mandalorian culture. Bo-Katan and fuck, what's his name? Tor Vizsla? No.
Vizsla?
Not Pre Vizsla, the Vizsla that's in the Mandalorian.
Anyways,
I'll
look it up.
Paz Vizsla. Paz Vizsla.
There you go. Yeah.
Bo-Katan and Paz Vizsla, and all of these characters that are here, and Sabine, and any Mandalorian that we have that's still alive, they all have family names that mean something to Mandalorian culture.
Mhm.
They all are rooted in Mandalorian culture, and because of that, there's conflict there. The Vizsla line is so littered with conflict and with things that we as fans don't even know about, but it's a legendary name. The same thing with Clan Kryze. It's a legendary name. Clan Ren is a legendary name. All of these names mean something. Even Fett in Legends, the name Fett has so much stuff that's cemented in Mandalorian culture. So because of this, I think that Bo is perfect for this moving forward. Din. Din is perfect.
Is a Death Watch foundling? Like, do you think that they would ever be accepted on the throne?
So that is a complicated question, Ben. one that I am still one that I'm still trying to do some research on. So I'm not pitching this to you, but I'll pitch this to the fans very soon.
You better not pitch it to me.
Very soon on my very own YouTube channel that is not made yet, I will be posting a video breaking down all of the Mandalorian culture and what it means to be Mandalorian and all of that. I've been going back and watching every episode of Rebels and Clone Wars with Mandalorians in it. Because there's a lot of questions. There's also a lot of inconsistencies. In Rebels, they say Clan Ren or Clan Vizsla and House Vizsla interchangeably. Now, Clan Vizsla and House Vizsla both mean two different things, and they both are a thing. But at one point, Fen Rao calls Sabine a member of House Vizsla and a member of Clan Vizsla, and those mean two very different things. Yeah. So, to answer your question, there's a lot of gray area there. There's a lot of gray area on which subsets of Mandalorian culture are okay with foundlings and which aren't. You have what Almec says in the Clone Wars where, well, Jango isn't really a Mandalorian. And I feel like that has to do with the fact that he was a foundling, but I don't think he was a foundling of Death Watch. I think he was a foundling of a faction that we don't know about yet, that exists in Legends. And it has to do with the translation on his gauntlet and all this bullshit that we're not going to go into today. But yes, I don't think he would be accepted, but I think that's going to be the point of what we see in his story. It's him earning that respect.
I just think Bo-Katan's too bullheaded to train anyone, honestly. I agree. I love the character of Bo-Katan. She's shown a tiny bit of complexity as, through Clone Wars and Rebels and stuff. But this is she is full on Game of Thrones. This is my birthright. She is, who's the character in Game of Thrones? She is, Viserys Targaryen. Not that crazy, but she is this is my birthright to rule this planet, and I will do whatever I can to get it back.
I will say Bo-Katan in this episode felt like the most Bo-Katan compared to her first appearance, because in that episode you kind of felt like she was the good guy. She's not really a good guy.
Her Rebels, I also think her Rebels depiction doesn't line up with her Clone Wars depiction.
Well, I also think there's time in between, though, and it's kind of to the point of Luke, right? People who watch Return of the Jedi and don't like Last Jedi because they don't necessarily like his depiction, but time has passed, so people change. So I think that Bo-Katan has changed from Clone Wars to Rebels, and I think this lined up more with her Rebels portrayal than it did with the Clone Wars portrayal.
I will also I'm much more in line with what Sean is saying about Bo-Katan kind of teaching Din. I think it would be very interesting because so far throughout all of Star Wars history, Clone Wars, Rebels, and now this, for Bo, we haven't really seen her kind of concede to someone, right? She's always kind of at the top, calling the shots, if you will. I think it would be very interesting for her character if at some point, whether it's after a fight between the two of them or something happens where she realizes, you know what? I have to give this up. It's not me. And I have to train. I have to help Din. I have to be a part of him. Like she said was episode 3, she said Mandalorians are stronger together. I think that might come back more than we realize. And she realizes, okay, maybe the darksaber isn't for me and it's for someone else, but I need to help him get there. I think very interesting.
To lose a fight first. I think
yes, and I do think that. Yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
I think we'll see Din earn it. Brandon Buckingham, happy birthday,
Brandon! Happy birthday, Buck!
Happy birthday, Buck! I didn't know it was his birthday.
It is. It's his birthday today. Big happy birthday to Brandon.
Happy birthday to Buck.
Yeah, executive producer Brandon Buck. Frank, do you have any thoughts on the?
I would just say, I think if we are going into season 3, I think there is going to be probably at the center. I feel like there's going to be a whole sort of reformation of what it is for Mandalorians, whether it's seeing it through Bo-Katan's eyes or Din's eyes or the Armorer's eyes or whoever else they run into. I think a lot of that's going to take place next season, and in terms of like rebuilding Mandalore and bringing it back to prominence and all that, I think there's gonna be a huge point of emphasis on that. I also think like the more and more I think about it, Din is almost sort of setting up to be the reluctant leader, at least for a point of time. I don't think he's gonna. That's like the end of his character arc. That's where he ends up ruling Mandalore. But I think for a point of time, he probably will be seen as this leader of Mandalore, and it's going to be a very interesting dynamic between whatever characters they bring in, aside from the ones that we do know. So that's all very interesting to me, and I'm fully prepared to go a majority, if not the whole season 3, without Grogu. I really think like they're really going to hone in on this Mandalorian stuff. Although I could see, because I also think after season 3, and this is like a whole other thing, but I think we could see a time jump for wherever they go next after all these other series roll out and we get the stories more fleshed out or connected, what have you. Because I think they probably have plans for what they want to do with Grogu, but you can only do so much when he's like this big.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and so here's an interesting conversation, because I guess as we're talking about this, obviously you all saw the end of the episode was a post-credit scene.
Real quick, I want to give another option for this. It's possible that, not that I want to get into shipping, right? Like, I don't want to say like, oh, well, they could get married, whatever. What? Receiving? No, I'm not going to say that on camera. At least not on an episode of Box Box. That's Maxwell's job. Maxwell makes those jokes on Box Box. No, so my thought too is, what if like Din needs to build a clan, right? Mm-hmm. Like Din was tasked with building a clan, and we haven't seen anything of the Armorer or the tribe this whole season. But we know that the tribe are diametrically opposed to these Mandalorians. Just the way they look at their culture is so different. What if Din and Bo sort of symbolically unite their houses in a very, we've talked about Game of Thrones, in a very Game of Thrones way, so that they're almost sharing the darksaber, right? Din might be the figurehead, and Bo might be the actual true leader, right? That's a possibility. But PJ, you were saying?
I wanted to actually bring up this comment because we also saw the post-credit scene. Boba goes back to Tatooine, kills Jabba's right hand, Bib Fortuna, who is now fat and looks like Jabba, which I love it.
I love it.
I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. And he takes the throne, clearly just signaling that he is getting back involved in the underworld, and he's taken over the clan. And so Mike says, what do we think the deal is with season 3? Is Book of Boba a subtitle, or is it a spinoff and we don't get a season 3 till 2022? So there's a couple of options here. I kind of want to get into it with you guys and what you're thinking, but something I thought was very interesting today that I hadn't thought about until now. One of the bloggers that I follow, that I'm trying to remember who, posted something interesting, is that Disney Plus is supposed to have a movie that drops December 17th. It's an untitled Disney project.
I was thinking the same exact thing.
And I'm wondering if it's not going to be a spinoff series and maybe it's a movie instead. Maybe we're getting the first Disney Plus Star Wars movie called The Book of Boba, and it could be a standalone spinoff movie versus a TV show, which would explain why we had been hearing that Boba had been leading his own series that had been shooting and things like that. So what if it's a movie versus being a TV show, and then we also get Mandalorian next season?
So Mando so far, I mean, look, the episodes are called chapters. It's very much been playing like a book.
And real quick, Pardis, they didn't say that it was season 3. They said the next chapter in the Mandalorian story.
And that's
a different thing.
Yes, that's a big part of it. But so far, the Mandalorian has very much been playing like a book where each episode's called a chapter. And we know that in some books, we have interludes and we have these prologues and epilogues and all this stuff. What if this is just one of those inside of this story, and then we pick back up in Mando, whether it's in, December, January, whatever it may be. And this is just an interlude within the Mandalorian story. This could just be like a get off for a moment to watch a movie of Boba, and he's set up down the road to be an antagonist for Din after meeting, because Boba got what he wanted from Din. He got what he needed. He did his task of getting Grogu back, and now he can do whatever the hell he wants. And that clearly is taking over something like the crime world from the Hutts and Bib Fortuna. And that's a big deal. That's a big deal. I also love the idea. Yeah, and I also love the idea that it's taking place on Tatooine and we get Cobb Vanth back probably.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Frank, what are your thoughts? Or Ben, actually.
No, go ahead, Frank.
So I'll say to this book chapter thing, I kind of look at it as, if we're calling this the Book of Boba, then I think right now we're watching the Book of the Mandalorian. We're going to get the Book of Ahsoka. We're going to get the Book of the Rangers of the New Republic, and they're all within this Disney Plus Bible, right? So that's how I kind of look at it in terms of that way, as separate stories or separate books, right? What I think what would be cool and could be a possibility, if it's not in fact that untitled Disney Plus movie, or Disney movie. Did they say Disney Plus movie or Disney movie?
It's on their schedule. It doesn't specifically say, but I mean, the fact of the matter is they have an untitled massive Disney project that's supposed to drop December 17th.
Regardless if it's Disney Plus. Okay. What I think would be cool is that if this was a Book of Boba was a 3 or 4 part miniseries leading into the start of Mandalorian season 3, where let's say the 3rd or 4th chapter of the Book of Boba is included with an appearance from the Mandalorian, and it gives you a hint of where we're going, where we're going to start in season 3. It could be something like that, where it's kind of like a little bit of a crossover, but not too much of one. I think it would be really cool if they went that route. If they air them at the same time, that would be really, really interesting, which I don't think they would do, because there's really no need for them to do that sort of thing. So either way, I'm just pretty excited we're going to get this story from Boba Fett, and I'm very curious, what is exactly his motivations here?
That's my big question
what
too.
I really have no idea about, and that's pretty cool.
Frank, you actually are kind of triggering my brain to think, because the Mandalorian is split into chapters. It's actually making me lean more into it could be the Mandalorian Book of Boba, and that is season 3.
Yeah.
And then the next season we might get, the Mandalorian Book of Bo-Katan, or Book of, something else.
I could see it being like an anthology series where they tackle Boba, Bo-Katan, someone else, but I don't think it's replacing Mandalorian season 3. I'll say that.
Okay, that's fair.
I think there's a chance. I really do think there's a chance.
I think the only reason I think there's a chance, because I do think even with the introduction of Boba in this season, I think the general public will still get them confused. I don't think you can have Mandalorian and Book of Boba going on at the same time.
Right.
And honestly, I think it would be a mistake to have two major. I know Disney's going more to the Netflix route where they're putting a lot of original programming on. There's going to be shows going on at the same time, but Mandalorian is still your premiere show. I think it'll still be that Friday, that Friday at midnight, that Sunday HBO show, that Game of Thrones, that Boardwalk Empire, that Sopranos. That's still going to be Mandalorian. So I don't think it'll replace, I don't think Book of Boba will replace it. Maybe it won't be at Christmas time next year. It'll be, summer 2022 instead, extra 6 months away. But I'm curious to see, one, how did Ming-Na, what's her name? Fennec?
Ming-Na Wen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did she get off the ship? Did Boba come back to be like, hey, come on?
I think it's time. I think it's just a time jump.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that we'll see that scene that bridges that in whatever Book of Boba is.
Yeah.
And I think when we see that,
actually, you don't see it in Book of Boba, but you see it in season 3 of Mandalorian, and maybe
it's not be like that Homer Simpson with Bo-Katan and Din standing like,
yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think that you're going to see Boba land on the ship, and he's going to walk up to the bridge, and it's just Din and Bo striking each other.
Spike walking in. Oh man, we won the. I'm out.
I actually, this is really interesting, and I actually think that's exactly what they're doing, Anton. I think that whatever it is going to be a chronological release order that makes sense leading into the crossover event, because they said the crossover event is an event, not like the shows crossing in and out of each other, but like a linear style storyline leading to a massive crossover, which is obviously going to have to deal with Thrawn, I would assume, because we got Thrawn's name dropped episodes ago.
So do you think, like, if let's say if Book of Boba and Mandalorian season 3 are completely separate, do you think what's going on in Book of Boba, there's also at the same time whatever's happened in season 3 that's happening at the same time Book of Boba? You know what I'm saying? Or do you think like here's Book of Boba and then Mandalorian whatever just chilling, and then here comes season 3, and then so like they're not
spilling the tea on the Book of Boba.
With the dab.
Wow.
I deserve it. Oh, I deserve it.
That's really interesting, because it could be running concurrent, or it could be that whatever happens in Book of Boba, it doesn't inherently have to do with whatever happens next for the Mandalorian. And to your point, we could see a time jump from the end of this season to wherever we pick up in season 3. So whatever happens, the Book of Boba could be happening in that between time.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we could be doing, like, Boba could be deciding maybe he wants to go to war with Mandalore. Now
Maybe he wants to be Mandalore.
I don't think so, though.
No, I don't. I'm just saying the possibility is there, because he butted heads with.
He was Mandalore in Legends.
Yeah.
After in this time frame, he becomes Mandalore in Legends.
But
so
when confronted with Bo-Katan and Casca Reeves, they're like, it seems like he can give a crap if he was Mandalorian or not.
Yeah,
he could have very well been putting on an act, though.
We've also already seen a change in him from current canon, as far as once he is out of the Sarlacc pit, once he encounters Din and Grogu, Boba would not normally hold to his word the way he has with Din. I don't know. It's a possibility. I don't think it's that
they could
likely.
go so many different directions. I have no clue where they're going.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of where we're at right now, is that Star Wars has infinite possibilities suddenly that we don't necessarily know. And like I kind of said as Dwayne was leaving, we are going to be doing an episode after the holidays where we come back and do a water cooler where we're going to break down, like we went over all the Disney Plus announcements in like a very short order a couple of weeks ago. We're going to do a bigger deep dive into what we're thinking each one kind of means to the canon, where we're headed in different ways. I obviously, the door is open to every one of you on this panel to come back and hang out and talk more about your theories on the Star Wars future. But I think that we're in almost uncharted waters in a very interesting way. I mean, we are our mutual friend Christian Harloff has said mutual times that the future of Star Wars is in television, and they're kind of going all in on it right now. Like
no better time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, they put their chips all in, and I think we're seeing that like very big push forward, because the next Star Wars film is still 3 years away.
Yeah,
that's a lot of time to do a lot of television.
Super hyped for that one. Oh my
3 years away, 2023.
Yeah.
December 2023 is when it's set.
That is 3 years away still. So we gotta
Ryan Johnson, his trilogy, you cowards.
I agree.
I want to see it.
I'm not a big Last Jedi fan. I don't hate it. It's mid-tier Star Wars for me, but I want to I like what Ryan did. I like the way Ryan tells Star Wars.
We gotta stop saying that everything is a overkill for nostalgia. And I've got one thing I want to say to this before we kind of get out of here. People inherently thinking that nostalgia is bad misunderstand that Star Wars in its DNA is nostalgic. The reason Star Wars exists is because George Lucas wanted to do Flash Gordon and serials and doing things that he grew up watching. Like inherently, it's always going to be nostalgic. Yeah. It's going to pull from the things that you remember, for better or worse. You don't have to like it. And it is, again, it is not a bad thing, because good fan service, which doesn't have a meaning at this point because it's only used to like shit on stuff. If it's done in a way that it works and makes sense, it matters. And it's good, and that's not a bad thing. You don't have to like the direction it's going, and that's fine. But we can't say that nostalgia is inherently a bad thing, and I think that using it just to say that things are bad because nostalgic is a misrepresentation and a misunderstanding of storytelling.
And a lot of these shows that are coming out are still within are still in between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens.
Yeah.
So you're still going to be in that sandbox, which means you're still going to get these references and callbacks. You're going to get, it's going to happen.
Yeah,
so
I
you
mean,
just either accept that or not, and that's really all there is to it.
I mean, accept your own reality on it and decide if that's what it is for you. And I've said time and again, you don't have to like everything that's happening. You don't even have to watch everything that's happening. If you don't, that's fine. Move on. Find the things in Star Wars that you like and latch onto it. Ben doesn't go back to Rogue One because he doesn't like it, and that's fine. In the same way that Sean doesn't necessarily like what all of Last Jedi does, just in the same way that I don't necessarily like all of Rise of Skywalker. But what I don't do, I don't sit around complaining that it exists, because at the same time, there are people who like it, and the storytelling may not be for me, and that's okay, but it's for other people.
Let me clarify on my Last Jedi. The Last Jedi
wasn't a dig. I'm just saying.
I know. The Last Jedi I don't dislike, but I don't love. It's better than fucking Attack of the Clones and The Phantom Menace. And again, any Star Wars movie for me is still better than most movies.
Yeah, I just
John, you're wrong.
I'm wrong.
I just need to make it a point that, like, this idea that somehow nostalgia but Tim, it is expanding. That's the thing. Everyone keeps going back to this, and I keep saying you're getting the High Republic. It literally starts in January. Like, the High Republic starts in January
with a television show.
Yes, and we have a TV show on the way, and also the universe expanding. That's what they're doing. You don't have to like that it's in the same timeline, and I'm not trying to pick on you, but like this inherent idea that you can't expand the universe within a box that you already know is inherently flawed, because we don't know what happens in the time frame between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. The First Order rises. That's it. That's all we know. There's 30 years to play with. Like, that's why, and people don't complain about Clone Wars. Clone Wars filled in a 3-year gap.
Yeah.
Like, that expanded the universe huge in 7 seasons for a 3-year period. Rebels, same thing. So you need to either pick the argument that your nostalgia is bad and you don't want to see that stuff. You can't have it both ways. That is like, I'm sorry. I'm just like, this argument makes no sense. And after the sequel trilogy, yes, because we've already seen that the Lego Star Wars special has already started to do that. It was our first storytelling outside of Rise of Skywalker. It's not canon, but they're already playing with it. It means that they're going to go that route. We're going to expand shit. Okay. Sorry.
That was great.
Anyway, you can find me at Billy on Twitter.
Welcome to the PJ Camel Network. We're all about positivity. Get the fucking comment.
Why are you in my chat?
Ben, I've learned from you.
No, it's true. Like, and that's the thing, you know, that's why I says, like, you know, people say like, oh, this is nostalgia porn, but I love Rogue One. It's like,
right.
But no, I'm excited for the future of Star Wars. I mean, just the future of the show, let alone, you know, the rest of the stuff we're getting. But people do have to realize that the Star Wars movies have covered a lot of time, and besides High Republic, we're probably going to get something around this timeline. So, you know, even though I don't like Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian, I know he's around. I know if anything has to do with the Force, his name is going to get brought up, or, you know, that Jedi is going to get brought up or something like that. Things are going to happen like this. And, you know, Darth Maul appearing in Solo, we knew that he ran the underground for a long time. So it's going to, yes. You want to be in chat? I fucking dare you to be in chat for this show.
That's amazing. That one got
man.
it.
PJ Campbell Network presents poor comments.
Tim, it's not aimed at you. It's aimed at bad arguments that I've seen online, and it's not really you. It's an overall frustration I have with people trying to have their cake and eat it too with their arguments that don't make sense.
Yes. They're cherry picking, and it's so funny how people like cherry pick out of like the 9 movies or 10 movies that we have. And it's like, even out of that small sample size, like you're picking and choosing what you like about this one topic. And it's so strange where it's like, oh, I don't like this fan service.
I love this.
Like, I don't like the fan service, but Avengers Endgame is the best. It's like, what did you watch Avengers Endgame? Like, come on.
Yeah. I just it's
No,
it's a
I'm
weird
really
thing.
excited about this. I thought this was a great, well directed. I thought
Yes.
the Din Moff Gideon fight was so far miles ahead of that Ahsoka Morgan fight. Like that, I did not like
I
that
agree.
Morgan fight. But it was so well choreographed. I thought like every single piece of Din's armor and Beskar was used perfectly to fight the darksaber, and you knew the staff was coming back, so they used that so well. So there's so much I loved about this finale. Like the fact that like maybe Luke Skywalker didn't work for me is totally fine with me, because even as I said, it still made me grin like a little kid seeing that green lightsaber light up, because that Return of the Jedi was my first Star Wars movie. So that was my first lightsaber I ever saw, was the green one. So I liked it. I loved season 2. It's insane how much better season 2 is than season 1 for me. Like it was so miles ahead of it. And I'm excited for season 3. I'm excited for the future of Star Wars. I'm excited to see how they intertwine all the shows. I wish that Gina Carano wasn't getting her own show, but you know what? I'm not an executive. And unfortunately for my job, I have to watch it, even though she's a giant dumbass.
I kind of think that they're going to write her out regardless. Like, I don't know how much
She did
Cara Dune
so
we're gonna-
little this
Yeah.
season.
And
Like,
she
even
was
in
so
this
bad at what
episode-
she did.
Yeah.
Bro, she's legitimately a terrible actor.
She is
Yeah.
terrible. Sasha Banks acted circles around her.
I'm not gonna go that far, but I thought she was pretty decent. I
In
thought
a
she was
helmet.
pretty decent. Yeah.
In a helmet. You're right.
But I do think, to your point, Ben, let's hope to God she gets written out, because I noticed that new the Rangers of the New Republic. Suddenly there was no cast announcement for what was going on with that.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, because you'd think otherwise they had already thought about it. And I just found that very telling. But I hope, God, dude, she needs to go. That's all I'm gonna say.
She probably just blocked me on Twitter.
I do. I want to bring up this one little point about. It's about kind of how they addressed Luke in this episode. I noticed in the credits, he's not credited as Luke Skywalker. He's credited as, it only says as Jedi, and so there's the stunt double as Jedi. Then there's stand-in as Jedi, and then like the actor name.
Wait a minute.
And when you
Hold on.
even go to like the subtitles, when he speaks, it doesn't even say Luke Skywalker. They don't even put a name up there.
Frank,
They'll say like Mandalorian speaking.
Are
and
you
then,
going
like,
here,
line.
are you saying this might not be Luke Skywalker?
No, what I'm saying is, I want to know why they wouldn't say it's Luke Skywalker.
Well, they never. Hey, you know what? In episode, they never, and in the
Really
first episode, they never say that was Boba. We don't even know that the Boba we're seeing now is who we saw in that first episode on Tatooine.
You're finally getting it, Sean.
That's a perfect way to end this.
Anyways, where can the people find you guys?
Oh man, can I just say once again, I want to thank all of you guys that were here today. Ben, having you on the channel finally, I'm so happy you were here. Thank you for coming and hanging out, man. Like,
Thanks for having me on for the finale to like just honestly sum up this amazing season, because there's been so many great moments. Who knew Bill Burr would be the best actor on this show? But
I did, because I watched King of Staten Island, and he's excellent in it.
God, he's so good, man. Like that episode, I still love me some Cobb Vanth, Western the Marshal, but man, that scene might be the best scene. Like it's up there for one of the best scenes in Star Wars, let alone like in this show.
Right, man.
Like, but yeah. And I love that, people, one Last Jedi reference. It's like people love to be like, oh, well, the rewriting Luke in The Last Jedi. It's like, well, I'm pretty sure everybody loved the Bill Burr stuff. And that's exactly what Leia said in The Last Jedi. And y'all clowned her for it. So kiss my entire ass. But yeah, this was awesome. I'm so happy to talk with you guys. And it's fun just to, like, I don't want to harp on the internet's negativity, but it's fun just to talk about Star Wars. And it's fun just to be able to say what you love and say what you might have not loved and say what you just liked. And it's good.
Come back anytime. Obviously, I do mean we are going to do a Fallen Kingdom watch along, because I think there's so much to like have fun with. That's all I'm saying.
We're going to need to pause. I don't know if you can pause in a watch along, but I'm going to pause. I'm going to obliterate that godforsaken flaming bag of turd that is Fallen Kingdom.
It'll be
I'm
fun.
glad I've never seen this movie.
No, you're watching it with us. We're all gonna do it together. It's gonna be fun.
I want someone. I do want like either Frank or Sean. I want someone who hasn't seen this movie.
I'll be there.
Because you have someone that loves it, someone that hates it, and someone that's never. So it'll just be in PJ on their shoulders.
Here's the problem, Ben. I'm already too opinionated to be on it. The reason I haven't seen it was because I'm such a fan of the novels Jurassic Park that I didn't want to see this movie because I'm like, this isn't Crichton's. Yeah,
and I already told you it's closer to
the novel. It's so like I love both separately because the movie is one of my favorites of all time. But I love that like they go. He's actually the capitalist a-hole that they hint at in the book. Like he legit doesn't give a shit about his grandkids like at all in the book.
Yeah. All right, Ben. Where can they find you online?
Twitch.tv, guys. I'm over there streaming all the time. Patreon.com/the Ben Goddard. Everything at the Ben Goddard, and I'll be there. And then SCN Live a few days a week.
Hell yeah. And Frankie Numbers, thank you as always, my friend. You know, we made it through the season. You were here for almost every episode. I love having you around the channel. You're still one of the very important parts, even though you don't come around as often as I'd like. But where can everyone find you? No, I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, I was actually surprised I made it for as many episodes as I did because I usually have to work. It just worked out this way, so that was really cool.
You could find Frank giving his bad Schmodown takes on the rundown on SEN, on the Schmodown Entertainment Network.
Don't you want him to help you get drafted?
He won't.
I can't help him.
That's fair. Frank, where can everyone find you?
Yeah, just Twitter and Instagram, FrankieJ29.
All right. And, Jake, it's been a pleasure having you throughout the season as well, my friend. I really hope you'll be back as well. Where can everyone find you?
At Qui-Gon Jake everywhere. Certain Point of View, weekly Apocalypse movies, weekly, and then my own little Star Wars thing as well called The Whiskey Jedi.
Awesome.
And go ahead and vote Certain Point of View as the after show of the year, guys, if you're a Schmodown Patreon.
Yep.
Or not. I think Christian just posted the link on Twitter, so
I don't know
do your
what's
thing
happening anymore. But you guys know where to find me. Sean, what about you?
Oh, they know where to find me. I'm here all the time.
Oh, thanks, Molly. I appreciate it. Well, with that, guys, we're going to get out of here. Like we said, we're going to do like a epilogue episode. It'll be after the holidays so that we can all actually enjoy our time off. But it'll be a lot of fun. And we will see you guys over on the next one. Happy birthday, Buck!
No, he's...
Tennis, I assume you've been in an office at some time or other where they have a water cooler.
Yeah, I saw one in my Aunt Diane's office one time.
Did you notice what happened? Well, describe it first of all. What does it look like?
Okay, there's a big glass jar filled with water, of course, and it's on top of a little stand. And at the bottom, there's a knob that you turn to get the water to come out.